What is up, RotoGrinders? 2 hours of nonstop NBA DFS conversation. It starts right now, taking you all the way up the lock. You get SquirrelPatrol and Kyle Murray later on, as well as Kevin Roth. Kevin Roth will be holding it down. Myself, Head Chopper, Bobby Gomes, talking tonight's 7-gamer. Pretty thankful that the slates did not make us suffer and have to deal with the Pistons, whatever's left of the Pistons. Detroit and Portland, of course, not in the main slate. Lakers, Denver could have been fun for sure. There's some cues out there, but could have been annoying as well. But yeah, the 10 o'clock games, they are not on the main slate. Trade deadline has come and gone. More uneventful than I think some people expected. There's a lot of trades, but parts here, parts there, a lot of stuff on the peripheral. Not a lot of big names moved. DeJounte Murray stayed. Russell stayed. The Bulls, as always, did nothing because they always do nothing. They love mediocrity. We could talk about that as we go through, but it's a 7-gamer. We do want to wish everybody in chat, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on those notifications, do all those things. We do appreciate that. Help us keep the lights on. Chop, welcome. We are a minute or so late because we're talking shows. We're not talking trade deadline. We're not talking basketball. We keep that stuff organic for the show. But Chop, you said there was a show you've been watching and you wouldn't tell us. You want to let us know what it is on air, I guess.
Well, first of all, I'm a little skeptical to mention it because, please, guys, no spoilers. Like, I know this is an older show, many years old.
Oh.
But I'm in season 2, and there's 5 seasons. Please don't drop
Kirkwood no spoilers. In chat? If Kirkwood's in chat, I wouldn't say it. Because he's notorious.
You would have to ban him if they drop a spoiler. Or, you're not going to be my friend no more if you drop a spoiler. But we're talking about shows, and you're like, why don't you watch this? Well, because I try to sit down and watch one and binge it, but I can't binge it like all in a weekend. I got to spread it out. You know what I mean? So right now, currently, Dean, I'm on late season 2 of Prison Break.
Oh, right? Okay. Yeah.
So, I don't know if anybody's familiar with that show.
It was on Fox. I never watched it.
Yeah.
My understanding is it starts off really, really good. I
was a Fox USA guy, by the way. I told you guys that.
I was just looking.
Guys.
I'm watching it. It's on Hulu. There's no commercials or nothing. But I just wanted something to watch. It came with good recommendations. But man, yeah, it started off good. Boy, we are jumping the shark in season 2, though. I'm not gonna lie, man.
Everybody says my understanding is it falls off the table really fast in that show. I've never saw it for that reason. Everybody essentially says, yeah, first season phenomenal, then it's a disaster. And I don't know how they have 3 or 4 more, whatever it is. But I can't say from a personal experience. The chat seems to like it. Andres says great show. So there you go. Some people in chat are into it.
I can agree with you, Dean. Like, I think that's why I kind of stopped watching it because it kind of gets redundant. But that was my the opera. It's like Game of Thrones, right? After season 5.
Oh, come on, stop it. Game of Thrones. It's so Prison Break is like that GIF, like the horse, the drawn horse. I think. It just starts to fade away.
That's the Game of Thrones gift, though. That's the Game of Thrones.
Maybe the tail of Game of Thrones. That's about it. Game of Thrones was really, really solid throughout. They didn't fully stick the landing, but it was on the overall. It's really, really good. Maybe producer Steve. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm happy to be on the show with Chop. I feel like I'm the Paul Walker to his Dominic Toretto, and I've replaced Kirky. I feel bad almost, You
guys are family?
I guess we're family, yeah.
Chop is a big fan, of course, of his Fast and the Furious. You can only watch those so many times, I suppose. But now somebody's mentioning 24. Yeah, I feel like 24 was around the same time as far as dropping on Kiefer Sutherland and on Fox when Prison Break. Those are like back-to-back nights or something like that. Ray Donovan, another one that was pretty solid and then faded away pretty quickly.
Man, Ray Donovan was good for about a season, and he was just a fixer in LA. It was really good stuff. But boy, they really stretched that out way too thin of those last couple seasons, man.
There's even a Ray Donovan movie, which I didn't see, but that's I guess I'm at whatever sort of holes they had left. I didn't watch the last couple seasons. Like I fell off as well, but I thought the first couple seasons were pretty fun.
They do like the weird Boston intertwining, like South Boston and all that into that show, and I didn't really like that part of it.
Is it because it's not like authentic because you're the Boston guy?
It's not authentitious, Dean. What do they say in the town? It's not authentitious when he's in the interrogation room.
Yeah, I still got to rent the bonus, the extended version of the town, like 20 extra minutes or something like that. One of these days, we'll splurge and spend the $15 and buy it. They won't let me rent it. I got to buy it, I suppose. All right. Maybe producer Steve can give us like 5 or 4 shows, and we'll decide. Let's leave it up to Steve. Who's a favorite show amongst the people? Producer Steve will drop a poll for the people. We like dropping polls these days. 4 TV shows on the board. We'll pick our favorites. We'll lay some odds. We'll have a good time with that. As far as players that are questionable tonight on this main slate, it looks like Brooklyn is going to be down to 8 players unless they get somebody from the G League, because they traded away Royce O'Neal. They traded away Spencer Dinwiddie, who was pissed, by the way, because he was traded away to Toronto. I think he had to play 2 more games, and he got a bonus of $1.5 million. And Toronto's like, you know what? We're just going to let you go. We're not going to let you play here. And I guess that starts the whole thing over again, or that throws away that contract, however that works. Brooklyn's going to be down to 8 dudes because they're moving some players out. Halliburton officially questionable. I suspect he plays, but stay tuned on that. Other players to keep an eye on. Well, Lakers, we don't need to worry about. Luka's good to go with his nose. He played somewhat. He played some with the mask last game, but he did ditch it at some point. Jalen Brunson, that's a big one. The Brunson burner, of course, that's a big deal. He's questionable. New York already crazy thin. They added some reinforcements, but of course they're not going to be here tonight. Dame Lillard's questionable too. Chop, what do you got here? What's the state of the slate? I know we just had a refresh as far as projections. Yeah, right for the show about 10 minutes ago. If you guys have lineup HQ, give it a refresh because projections, a new batch just came through. I'm going to run my optimals as I throw out the U-Chopper. But yeah, what do you got? What are we looking at here as far as the 7-gamer tonight? Plenty of value.
There's value, and there's maybe 1 or 2 guys that are jumping out kind of value, and then the other value I think is kind of sneaky, but there is value. So yeah, I agree with that. A couple of these teams made some trades and they're just really thin tonight, so that's where you can look. And I don't think the ownership projections are accurately they might be accurate, but the ownership in general tonight might be a little bit off of what I think it should be. So I think that's where we're at. Like, the Knicks are very thin. Knicks could be like incredible if Jalen Brunson, who suffered an ankle injury the last game, and I don't know what his status is, if he's going to show up or not, but if he's out, then we really got some value. But there's some other spots there. Brooklyn is super thin, but I don't think the ownership is going to fall in the right places. So I think that there's plenty of value, and I think that you can get it. Unlike most NBA slates where the value and it's good, but it's chalky, this value might not be so chalky, but it's really good.
Booker also questionable, Bradley Beal questionable, and that's the latest game on the slate too, which is worth noting. It's an hour after the next latest game, Minnesota, Milwaukee, Chicago, Memphis, both at 8:00. So kind of an island game to some extent there with Phoenix. Hopefully we get some clarity or not, maybe lean into it for tournaments. You mentioned the Brunson thing. Brunson really, really wants to play tonight. He always wants to play, but he definitely wants to play at home in a revenge game versus Dallas. I'm looking at the if-then stuff, and it's you can only give these guys so many minutes, but DiVincenzo and Josh Hart would get 39 minutes. Precious 38. Hartenstein 34. McBride would be a big winner. 36 minutes. He's already looking pretty good as a cheapie now. As like the 6th man, now he would probably jump in the starting lineup almost definitely. Yeah, New York will be popular for sure. By the way, producer Steve did drop a poll in the chat for the people. Best show amongst these 4: Stranger Things, Game of Thrones, The Office, and Breaking Bad. Feel free to vote at your own leisure. Bobby, you got a take on that? Did you have to see the poll drop? And also, I'm curious your thoughts as far as the slate. What do you got your eye on?
Yeah, so in terms of the poll, like I don't know. I went The Office, but it wasn't finishing as high as I thought it would. More people like Game of Thrones than really. Obviously, Game of Thrones was like great appointment TV for a while, but then it kind of just fell off. But that's the poll. In terms of like the slate, there's a ton of value. For me, like the value to pay up to Luka and Giannis, it's great, but Giannis is playing like it's not the greatest matchups for either, like Luka's versus the Knicks, Giannis Timberwolves. Like it's not something that I really want to like pay up for. It's more getting to like these middling guys, talking about like Paolo Banchero, Wemby, DiVincenzo's up to 7-9. Wow. Yeah, Franz.
He's
Wagner,
worth it.
Yeah, he's worth it. Yeah, he's definitely worth it. from just saying I don't see myself like using all this value to get to Luka or Giannis too much. So yeah, we'll figure it out as it kind of goes. We talk through it and stuff.
The honest thing is wild because since Doc Rivers took over, the minutes have been outrageous. They're not winning. Doc, I think, is going to be the all-star coach, and he's currently 1-3 or 1-4, which is kind of hilarious in its own right. 39 minutes, 40 minutes, 40 minutes, 38 minutes. Was Doc coaching in Denver? I don't remember. So 37, 38, 40, 40, 39. No Middleton, possibly no Lillard. I know the matchup's not great, but Giannis will be asked to do literally everything. Just looks spectacular. Luka, he's limping half the time. His nose is busted. He's got a mask, and he still puts up 90 fantasy points. Whatever, doesn't care. I don't know what to do with him, but he looks amazing as well. Obviously, some teams in the back end of a back-to-back. Just want to note those. That is on the back end, Cleveland. Somewhat surprisingly, not resting. Any of their Mobley not resting, far as we know. The Warriors are playing the back end of a back-to-back. They're traveling as well to Indiana. San Antonio back end, and Pittsburgh, the Pistons, they're playing the back end, but who cares because they are not on the main slate. Front end, Denver and the Lakers and the Bucks also on the front end. Early results: Breaking Bad 41%, The Office 23%, Game of Thrones 26%, and Stranger Things is the contrarian play right now. J3 in chat says Breaking Bad is the better show to watch, but The Office more watchability, which I'm not going to argue with that. I think I would have Breaking Bad. I think that's the best show. What's the best show, no matter what you're putting up against, in my estimation. Chop, did you respond here to the poll? What was your answer?
Out of those particular choices, I'm going. I responded with a vote for Game of Thrones. I just thought, as good as Breaking Bad was, there was just something about. When they were following the book, like in Game of Thrones.
You read the book?
No, but I know what the book I know they were following the book, which was very good for quite a while.
No, that's a bad joke. I'm sorry, Mr. Chopper.
It's a fine joke, Bobby, but I got some smart to me. I'm not, whatever. All right, but as long as they were following the book, it was good. When they started to go their own route, it got bad. I went Game of Thrones because that really was like something, just the graphics and everything going on were really good. But I'll tell you the one I would have put Lost in there. So how does Stranger Things get in there? That's not a top 4 show.
Steve's a little younger. It's the core of a younger show.
How does The Sopranos or The Wire or like?
I didn't want to complain because I complained yesterday. I put him on the spot. He puts one comedy here with 3 dramas. Let's keep the dramas in one bucket.
I would have put Lost in there because there is no show that when it was in its prime, left you with the cliffhangers that Lost did that you were like, oh my God, what is this? None of them, even Breaking Bad none of them had the cliffhangers that Lost did for a while. So
what about early Game of Thrones?
Those were really good, but I mean, if I'm looking at the two, Lost, man, Desmond, when they found Desmond underground, and come on, man,
what are we doing?
We're an island.
My bad.
What are we doing?
The smoke monster. Come on, man.
The other thing is the water cooler thing. I know we don't leave our house. We work from home, but the theoretical water cooler conversations. You watch Lost on a Wednesday night, and for the next 6 days, you're talking with your friend, you're talking to somebody, you're talking at the water cooler, what's going to happen next? And that show, that concept basically doesn't exist anymore. What's the last show? It's the Game of Thrones and Lost. Does that still exist? Where people just sit around
water cooler now, the secret chats on Discord?
I don't know. I'm just thinking Netflix, they all come out at once. There's not this one show we're all watching one night. We
Times have changed, Dean. Times have changed, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Unreal. We're all trying to figure out what's happening on True Detective. Do you know what's happening? I don't know. Do you know what's happening? I don't know what's going on. I guess I'll keep watching, but I have no idea what's going on.
You don't
Thankfully,
know
there's only 2 more episodes left.
You know what's good about True Detective, Dean, this year?
No.
You have to watch it, and then you have to go back and rewatch it and catch these little things and how they intertwine with previous seasons. It's really good. I like it a lot.
I haven't watched it yet. Should I take it up as a show?
No, I mean, I wouldn't recommend. Well, if they stick the landing, it's possible they can get there. But I'll tell you, it's a slow burn. It better be worth it. But right now,
I don't like it, Dean. Oh man, are you catching the hints towards season 1, Dean?
There's some stuff there. I also think season 1's a little bit overrated. It's good.
Oh no, Dean. Season 1 was phenomenal, man.
It's like a Mactic. It's fine. It's fine, but I don't think it's like amazing. But like producer Steve hating in the chat saying Sopranos is too old. It's not too old. It's not actually. You can give it a rewatch and it holds up really well.
Go back and watch The Sopranos, Steve. Come on.
All right, let's talk about the slate. We got 7 games. We got Squirrel coming in. We have Kyle coming in about an hour or so, taking you all the way up the lock. Got a new batch of ownership stuff. We got some nets, hitting some optimals. Looks like I have 3 on my very first one on DK, 2 on the second one. A lot of bulls too. A lot of bulls hitting optimals as well, which is that's very comfortable. None of the bulls didn't make any moves. It's the same old team. But let's kind of talk through it. Let's go game by game. The very first game we're going to talk about is the Warriors. The Warriors and the Pacers. It's 249 as far as the total. It's a big boy total for sure. The Pacers are 6-point favorites here against Golden State. Golden State, again, traveling back half of back-to-back on the road. Draymond, good to go. He was questionable yesterday, played through his knee. It was a blowout, so not a ton of minutes there for the Warriors. They're pretty well rested. They did trade away Corey Joseph. Who cares? Wiggins available to play as well. He was possibly on the move. He's not in the move. Indiana, they traded away Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield no longer on the Pacers. Benedict Mathurin is questionable with an illness. Jalen Smith has that questionable tag like he always does with his back because they've lied a couple times this year and ruled him out like mid-game. And Halliburton, he saw a nice minute spike last game to 29 minutes, 28 and 50. I rounded up. But yeah, almost full last time. Chop, I'll throw this to you. Pacers, Warriors. Theoretically, it's a good game, but the way prices are and like the way Halliburton is like still kind of priced full and he's probably not going to play full. And Kuminga's price certainly adjusted. He's certainly in play. But awesome environment, but like math-wise, it's not an amazing math game for DFS. No,
it is not, and it's reflected in the projected ownership. It's not going to get much, but the Pacers. We're on the whole Halliburton semi-minutes limit thing, and he's still pretty pricey, especially on FanDuel where he's over 9K. I think he's 9,100 on FanDuel. So not really getting behind too much of the Pacers here. If I'm looking at anything, I'm always going to be looking against the Pacers and with the pace they play and the defense they play. And Curry's pricey, so he's okay, but it's the younger guy. It's a guy like Kuminga in this kind of a pace that stands out to me as probably like my favorite play of the game. His price tag's getting up there, but he's very much worth it, Dean. He's been pretty phenomenal here for about 3 weeks. So I have no problem with Kuminga. The rest of them, maybe Miles Turner if he's hitting some 3-pointers. You can catch a little bit of good variance, but you're taking a risk. And Curry's pricey, like I said, and Pascal's okay, but he's nothing else really standing out here except for the fact that Klay Thompson is really washed. Other than that, that's about where I'm at.
Yeah, so's Wiggins, I think. But there's been sort of a youth movement here, and Kuminga stepping up in season. It's been spectacular, the leap he's taken. I wrote him up on scores and odds, by the way, late last night. If you got it, I think it was 18.5 or 19.5 over on points. He's hit that number in 8 of his last 10 games. The 2 times he did not hit it was a blowout and foul trouble. He fouled out. The minutes have been outrageous. The role has been outrageous. Of course, the matchup here versus Indiana is outrageous. Do love him a lot tonight. We should mention, by the way, what's going on, Chop? What's so funny?
You mentioned Wiggins, and it just made me think, Dean, about how he came out, drafted number 1 overall, got into his rookie contract. He was a bust. Had a lot of issues there, so they got rid of him to Golden State. Just so happens when he was ready to re-up for a new contract, he had an MVP level season and won a championship, and then he got his money, and now he's kind of like, I'm not accusing him of anything, Dean, but
it sounds like you're suggesting something. I don't know, you're connecting some dots. He had a weird career because he was like a quote unquote bust for where he was drafted. But then he also, when he was like one of the best players in the final. Like he wasn't the live final MVP, but he was close to it, right? He was spectacular then. So he sort of redeemed himself there at Golden State. And now, not great. I think he's still kind of younger than we think he is. Wasn't he really young when he came out? What is he, like 30?
Yeah.
How old is Wiggins?
Yeah, he came out after like 1 year, so probably.
I thought he easily could have been the MVP of that final, for what it's worth. But
that was it. Like one great year in that contract year, and then everything else surrounding it has just been kind of.
Let's see. How old is he? 31. No, wait. He's only 28. He's only 28? He's like the world's youngest 28-year-old. I did not know he was only 28 years old. He's probably a big fan of Stranger Things. Bobby, what do you got as far as Indiana and Golden State?
Yeah, highest total game on the slate, and people aren't going to play Curry. They're not going to play Kuminga. They're not going to play Green. And it makes sense, right? You guys basically said it, the math. It doesn't really add up. If I had to rank these guys on the Warriors side, it would be Green, Kuminga, and then Curry for me. Curry's always fine as a low-owned GPP dart. Kuminga's just been playing fantastic overall, and I just think it's a good price tag for Green. But yeah, there's not much here, and it's weird because it seems as if these teams are at full strength. They know Mathurin. Do we have any confirmation on Mathurin? He's definitely playing, correct?
I believe he is questionable still, and Halliburton's questionable also. I would be really surprised if Halliburton doesn't play. It's an island game for them. He's ramped up to 29 minutes, home game versus Golden State. I don't think he sits, but stay tuned. We'll see. Hield is out. So like that's 20, 25 minutes. But of course, Indiana always has extra dudes. They always have players. Just they can always give minutes to somebody random.
Yeah, on Indy, Miles Turner would probably be my favorite play. But there's not really much there on the Indy side, which I think makes sense. Like we said, we're going to target guys who are playing Indiana more than we're actually going to target Indiana unless we have Halliburton. And where Halliburton's currently on that somewhat minutes limit. So, yeah, for the Indy side, it'd just be Turner. But for Golden State, Green, Kuminga, Curry, and then that's pretty much it for me.
Yeah, we also bet some Halliburton overs. Hopefully that 28 minutes sticks and maybe he gets an extra minute or two. Speaking of minutes, they've seen Naismith has seen a bunch thrown his way, kind of as a mid-tier play if you want that. I think he's fine, but I don't know how necessary he may be on this slate. But Chopper, you got anything else as far as Golden State or Indiana? Or shall we move on? Chopper.
I gave him the sign to move on. You really need to have your video pulled up. It's part of the show.
Well, I mean, speaking is part of the show too, some would say, but fair enough. San Antonio takes on the Magic. San Antonio back half of back-to-back, traveling as well. Despite that, Wembanyama's going to play. He's played through these back-to-backs more so of late. 225, not a very high total, and also they're pretty heavy dogs, 10-point dogs here against the Magic. The Magic are fully healthy, 100% fully healthy. San Antonio did just trade away Dougie McDermott. I think they went to the Pacers, if I'm not mistaken. Probably can help them with some spacing if they need some threes. Halliburton will get them open for sure. Spurs Magic here, Bobby. Are we enthused about this one? Banchero is popping for sure. Of course, the matchup here against San Antonio is prime. The potential for a blowout is also lurking. What are we doing? Any priorities here in Orlando? How much are we prioritizing Banchero?
I really like Banchero. He's probably my favorite. Like, I don't know if you're at 8-2. He's not really a spend up. Like, he's kind of middling range, but he's probably my favorite play on the slate, I would say. I like him and Franz. Like, you can beat the San Antonio team inside. Franz can beat them from the outside and the inside. Wendell Carter is another guy that I'll have interest in as well. And then running it back with Wemby. The issue is, like, the Magic do have the length to, like, not contain Wemby, but give him some trouble, I would imagine. So Wemby would be my only play from the Spurs side, but interested in Banchero for sure, Franz, and Wendell Carter.
They played a week or so ago, for what it's worth. Wemby put up 21, 8, and 3, 7 stocks. That's how he got there, especially on FanDuel. 5 blocks, 2 steals. Can't assume that can repeat, but of course that is always in his bag. Low-scoring game, too. 108-98 there, San Antonio versus Orlando. What do you got here, Chopper? San Antonio, Orlando, we enthused about this one? It feels pretty meh.
Enthused about the game? No. Enthused about two players? Sure. Banchero, awesome play, especially on DraftKings at $8,200. He's good. So that's that, but the ownership reflects that. Then I go down to Wembanyama at what do we got him at right now? I didn't refresh it, but I'm guessing around 15% ownership on DraftKings. And so, man, I think that's kind of low, Dean, considering that the 8,900, like 10-3 on FanDuel, a little bit too much. 8,900 on DraftKings, I think is phenomenal price for this guy. He's hit 44 or more DraftKings points in 14 of his last 16 games. Clearly has upside in there too if some of those defensive stats go his way and he's hitting some three-pointers. Like, I think he's a home run GPP play. So Banchero, running back Wembanyama, and rest of them not all that enthused about them, but like I wouldn't hate on you if you threw out the name Franz Wagner and Wendell Carter at his price tag, even though I'm not a big Carter guy, but I'm not hating on any of those guys. But the Banchero Wembanyama run back, man, seems pretty stout. If you play Wemby or Banchero, do you feel like it's like all or nothing? They're both or neither. Is that sort of the thought process? Not at all. They're both, like, Wembanyama is just a machine, Dean. It's not if, it's when. It's when is he going to become the best player in the NBA, and it's coming pretty fast. So no, I think he stands alone. Best fantasy player, at least. I don't think is he going to be the best player? Maybe the best player. Like, it's only a matter of time. I don't know if that's a year, 2 years, or 3 years out, but it's only the best player in the game, period, even in real life. So yeah, I think he's a standalone guy if you wanted to him, but if you want the upside, you stack them together. Have you got a chance to see Wemby live yet? You're out there in San Antonio. No, but they got a game coming up in about a month or so with Houston in San Antonio, and that's when I'll go look at. Oh, you'll hit you're closer to San Antonio than Houston, right? I'm in San Antonio. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. I wasn't sure if I don't follow you on Facebook or anything. If you update Houston's coming to town in about 6 weeks or so, something like that. So that's when I'll be on, Dean. By the way, gave it a refresh here. As of 5:25 on the East Coast, on DK specifically, Banchero coming in at 19%, Franz Wagner at 17%, Wembanyama at 17% as well. Carter at 15%, Fultz at 12%. He's pretty cheap, but what's his upside really? All right. Anything else, or shall we move on? Moving on. If you're playing two more of these Magic, I would definitely run it back with Wemby. If you're playing two in total, or you're saying three in total? Like two or three, I would be considering running it back for sure. Yeah. I don't think I would play three Magic. Would you play three Magic in one lineup? No, I probably wouldn't. But what I'm saying, I like Carter. So if it hits my stuff, like I like Carter, Franz, and Banchero. So if they hit my stuff, then yeah, I think they're all very strong plays. So my run back would be Wemby in that scenario. Let's talk about the Cavs and Brooklyn. Breaking news, Dean. What do we got? Klay Thompson is out. So we can revisit that real quick. Ooh. The game we just covered. Well, let's give the projection team a second, because Pods will probably get a little bit more, right? Yeah, I don't know if he gets enough. That's what I'm thinking, Dean. Bing, ding, ding, ding. Yeah, I think Pods is going to jump enough. He's already a really good player, like fantasy-wise. So, yeah, I think he's going to be the guy that jumps out big time. 27 minutes is his current projection. Do we assume he jumps in the starting lineup and plays like 32, something like that? I think so. I wouldn't get scared off if he's not in the starting lineup. Yeah, I wouldn't either, but I'm just trying to think who would start if not him. Who else would it be? We've seen Santos and Quinones get some run. Šarić possibly. No, I think it'll be Pods. Well, we'll leave this to our projection team, and we'll know this because it's a 7:00 game. But all right, good note there. LaMelo Ball already ruled out for tomorrow. There's already rumors that he might be shut down for the season, by the way, which is pathetic. The Hornets are pathetic, but that's just wanted to throw that out there. I got to get my shot in on the Hornets every single day. Just a disaster organization, and they're already shutting down their players most likely. Okay, let's talk about the Cavs. The Cavs and the Nets, who traded away, three pieces? So they traded away Dinwiddie. They traded away Royce O'Neal. Just those two. But Cam Johnson's still out. DFS is still out. Lonnie Walker is still out.
Spencer Dinwiddie. Did I say him? I think I did. And Daron Sharp, of course, is still out too. So, oh, wait, did they add an extra body? Keon Johnson's available. Okay. So they had 8, and I guess they got Keon Johnson from the G League. So it looks like they have 9. Interesting. Okay. I wonder if we're going to probably project a few minutes for him because Brooklyn was going to be tight. Speaking of Breaking Bad. Keon Johnson is available, it looks like. All right. He was en route. Okay. Because their bench is Jalen Wilson, Trenton Watford, Keon Johnson, and Noah Clowney. We're assuming Ben Simmons draws to start, and he's on a bit of a minutes limit as well. I wonder, let's see. Are we projecting all 9 to play? Have we had a chance to get to Keon Johnson? We're giving Keon Johnson 13 minutes. Okay, so we're assuming he plays. Bridges, 39, Thomas, 38, DSJ, 35. One of the most popular plays on the slate. Currently, 66% ownership for DSJ, Dennis Smith Jr., that is, on DK, just so cheap. We're presuming he starts. We're presuming he plays mid-30s as far as minutes. Claxton's going to have to play all the minutes he can play, and we're giving 24 to Simmons. I don't know how much more he can play than that. I think he can play a couple more, possibly, maybe, but 24, it seems like a fair medium projection. They're taking on the Cavs. The Cavs in the back half go back-to-back. Mobley, kind of surprisingly, like Mobley's going to play, Garland's going to play, as far as we can tell. They're fully healthy with the exception of Tristan Thompson, who's been suspended. Chop, Brooklyn, you got to have some interest here, right? It's not a great matchup against the Cavs, but, they're down to 9 bodies, and, like, we're kind of rounding up because 6, 7, 8, 9 is pretty rough.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes in the NBA, you just eat the big chalk and, and you got to roll with it. Like you weren't winning a single penny here recently without when DiVincenzo was chalk, right? And if you were fading him, you weren't winning nothing. That could be Dennis Smith tonight, although he has a lot more paths to failure than DiVincenzo did, but still is super cheap on DraftKings. Sometimes you just got to eat that. Now it's the other guy. It's the Jalen Wilson, or Trenton Watford. Those are the guys that I could actually, like fade and feel not so bad about. But otherwise, I think I'm looking at several Brooklyn guys in every lineup. Dennis Smith, Mikal, Claxton, Cam Thomas. I think they're all going to have good games. There's just so many minutes to go around, so many shots to go around from these guys. I think they'll eat it up, and I'm fine with any of those guys. They're stacking up to 3 or 4 of them in even in a GPP lineup without a run back. I think they're all great standalone plays. So yeah, I like Brooklyn quite a bit here.
Yeah, I do too. Maybe Mikal was inspired by his brother, who dropped 40 yesterday. I think back-to-back games or so. He dropped at least 40 in the bucket or so. He went outrageous last night. One of these guys, Cam Thomas, is another guy who might take 30 shots and put up 40 points. Who's going to break through here, Bobby, for Brooklyn? And what are your Brooklyn rules? Are you capping in at 3? Are you willing to play 4 Brooklyn guys? Again, the addition of the 9th man, it makes it a little bit more dicey, I suppose, as far as assuming these minutes are going to be outrageous. But Jalen Wilson projects pretty good right now. I'm pulling up his on-off stuff, or I'm pulling up his rates for the season. Your thoughts here as far as Brooklyn, Bobby?
Yeah, so it's the value in Brooklyn that everyone's going to be targeting. DSJ, Jalen Wilson, Brennan Wofford. I'd probably rank them. Jalen Wilson, DSJ is probably going to come in the highest owned. I like Jalen Wilson a little bit more for the price savings and the less ownership, so I'm going to go him first. DSJ 2, Watford 3. Clowney could sneak in there at 4. The interesting thing is, like, Bridges, Cam Thomas, and Claxton really aren't going to be played. So if you wanted to play one of those guys and hope they have a ceiling game, I think that you can take a shot there. I mean, they have 8 guys, right? So for me, if I had to rank the 9 guys, so Bridges, I'd rank it Bridges, Cam Thomas, Claxton in that order of like the guys that aren't considered value. It would be max 3 for me. Yeah, I do find it interesting, like trying to get to one of the 3 non-value guys in some of your builds. So when you max 3, you're just getting 2 of the value guys. I don't know. Like, we play the chalk in NBA. I definitely think you got to have at least 1 or 2 Brooklyn value pieces in your builds, but are all 3 going to get there? I think that's when the questions start to arise, and how do they not get there, right? maybe Bridges or Claxton or one of those guys has a good game. That's how I'd be looking.
By the way, I was joking for the record. I made that mistake before as far as the Bridges brothers. I was just kind of messing around. No, they're not. They are not. There's a lot of brothers, sets of brothers in the league, but the Bridges brothers do not exist.
I thought they were
the NBA. I thought so too, and then somebody corrected me on a previous show, and that was just a callback to those that watched that show, basically. But
it's crazy to me that the Bogdanoviches aren't brothers.
Maybe is that a popular name over in Eastern Europe? I don't know. I'm guessing that's where they're from. I'm guessing so. Is that like Smith in America? I'm not sure. It could be.
Dean.
Yeah.
Would you say the Knicks got the good Bogdanovich or the not so good Bogdanovich?
They got the old Bogdanovich. I'll say that.
Shots fired.
Well, no, he's like 35. Like
no, he's not. He's like 31.
Age shaming, you hate to see it.
Well, I mean, you have to age shame in the NBA. Hold on a second. Is he not?
Age shaming.
No,
he's 34. He's 34 years old.
Is he really?
Yeah. Bojan's 34. Yeah, he's been around for a while.
I
just turned 35. Call me old.
You're like
happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, Bob. I'm not going to take no cheap shots at you like you did me a minute ago with the reading thing, but that's all right. What's the Dean?
I figured my glasses. It'd be tough.
What do you think about the Knicks trades, Dean? Do you think they really did anything, or just gave up?
I think they added a lot of depth. Talent? They added some depth. I don't think they gave up too much, right? They gave up the young, like defensive, guard. But
well, I mean, just in general with the whole thing, Barrett, Quickly, and Grimes all together. You think that's a little bit of just for some older depth? What do you think about that?
Yeah, but that's the New York doesn't really use that kind of stuff. Podzinski is officially going to start. But like what's weird about New York is like they look great during the regular season because they basically run playoff rotations in the regular season. And every other team gets incrementally better because their best players go from playing 34, 35, 36 to like 37, 38, 39. Well, New York's already at 37, 38, 39, 40. So they just kind of stay the same, right? So it's not like, we're going to have every other team, their best players are playing a few extra minutes in the playoffs. That's not really the case with New York because they just max them out throughout the entire season. So they're sort of overachieving in the regular season. But they did add some depth. And like whatever injuries they have now, maybe they'll help them jockey to get the 2 spot or the 3 spot is Milwaukee. Yeah, it's Boston, Milwaukee right now, I believe, as far as 1-2. But yeah, I think they didn't give up a ton and they're useful pieces. Like it's probably going to be for naught, but I don't blame them for it because I think Boston's just the best team in the East, and that's that. And typically in basketball, they're not like this full-on dominant team. And of course, Bobby knows the history of the Celtics teams. Like some would say they're chokers. And you never know. The Heat could still knock them out. They probably shouldn't. Like
we will lose to the Heat. We will lose to the Heat. I think we're gonna get the gong from the Heat again. I
don't know how they do it. Yeah, Miami's it's built for the playoffs.
We have no bench. Like, what's our bench? We got who do we get? Tillman.
You added Jaden Springer, and you added Xavier Tillman. There you go. Get excited. But like, it's the playoffs. You have your 6 or 7 guys, and that's it. What else do you need? Just as long as they're healthy. Stay healthy, and Boston should be coming out. I don't want to say easily, but they should be coming out. Yeah. Oh, we talk about the Cavs here. Let's talk about the Cavs. How do we feel about Cleveland? Donovan Mitchell, stud. Stud's going to be kind of lost in the slate. Mobley eats away at Allen to some degree, so kind of caps out a little bit. But certainly Allen has the 15-15-5 game in his bag. I don't think we're getting any ownership on the Cleveland side. Let me give it a refresh. Do you like anybody in Cleveland, Bobby? I think you said you're willing to play, 3 or 4 on Brooklyn and no run back necessarily? You don't have to force it?
I do like Mitchell, but the price tags kind of got up there. The issue with Cleveland, it's a back-to-back. So to completely overlook these guys with Garland and Mobley's minutes, maybe not hitting what we think they're eventually going to hit on the back-to-back. Maybe Allen or Mitchell get there because just those guys see lesser minutes than what we're expecting. I don't know. I don't want to pay the tag for Mitchell. If you want to chase Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, revenge, I guess, they're fine. Maybe if I'm playing one of those better plays from Brooklyn, like Bridges or Claxton, then I would have interest in a run back, but you don't have to force it. Everyone's going to have 2 nets, I would imagine, or 3 nets or whatever.
But like you said, they're probably going to play the cheaper ones, or at least the cheaper ones are easier to get. DSJ for sure. Like he's going to come in every cash lineup. Going to be hard not to play in tournaments as well. Do you have a stand on that, Bobby? Are you willing to just the lock button or go the other way on it as far as Dennis Smith Jr.?
DSJ and Wilson, I think, are the strongest. It's Watford that I'd have the issue with. I don't think Clowney might see, 15%? I don't know.
We're only giving Clowney 14 minutes for what it's worth. So, yeah, I think that seems pretty thin.
Yeah, that is thin. I guess for the three main ones, Watford would be the one I'd be trying to get away from because he's power forward center. I think there's some strong plays at the power forward center position on the slate. So for me, he would be the one that I'd kind of move away from, I guess. I guess there are a lot of good guards too. So I don't know. I think DSJ, I think Jalen Wilson is the one I'd hit the lock on. In terms of DSJ, maybe a little bit above the field.
Wofford and Wilson both over a fantasy point per minute on the season. Wilson at 1.04, Wofford at 1.06. I'm thinking about like playing like one of the three, big boys for Brooklyn in every single lineup. I don't know if that's the right strategy or not. Like one of Thomas, Bridges, or Claxton. Like I really think one of those gets a ceiling game. Again, the matchup's not great, and I'm probably also playing Bridges. I'm probably also playing DSJ. So, and then I might play Wilson. So am I playing three? I think I can play three, but I don't know.
What chalk is the ceiling game? Like if Bridges hits a ceiling, who does he affect the most? Jalen Wilson at the small forward position? Like, I don't know.
He probably affects Cam Thomas the most, I think. Because Cam Thomas has to score. So yeah. Claxton can get there through blocks and rebounds. Like he can score 13 points and get 50 fantasy points. He can do that. Not likely, but possible. Right, especially on FanDuel where you get the extra point for blocks. Anything else here, Chop, as far as Cleveland and Brooklyn, or shall we move on?
Well, Dean, as far as Cleveland is concerned, the second night of a back-to-back, don't like them. It could be a blowout. Who knows what the thing's going to happen. But so I don't necessarily like them. But before we move on to the next game, I'd like to answer a question in chat. It says, from Carolina guy, friend of the show, man. He does it. Comes on and hops on and asks questions in the showdown. He's a FanDuel guy. He says, favorite stud in a large field GPP. This kind of leads us to the next game, Dean, because the answer I would give him in a large field GPP, we're going to talk about the Knicks Dallas now. I like Kyrie Irving for a ceiling game in Madison Square Garden tonight. So that would be my answer to you, Mr. Carolina guy. And with that, Dean, I think we can talk about the Mavericks and the Knicks.
By the way, we did update projections. Podziemski is now projected for 33 minutes. So, yeah, well in play. 6K flat on DK, about a 30-point projection. So it's not like a smash. It's not like Smash City, but certainly looks better. And the matchup, obviously, against Indiana is really appealing. Chop, let's talk about it. Game in New York, 227.5 is a total. Dallas on the other side. It's not high, but it is tight, right? Dallas is just a 3-point favorite. Up in the air as far as Brunson, he wants to play tonight against his former team. He's questionable with his ankle. And it was legit. Like he had to, I thought he was going to be out for sure, to be honest. Like I thought, this is going to be a couple games. He's a tough dude. OG's out for a while. Quentin Grimes, he was shipped out to get Bojan. Jericho Sims is also questionable too. He would mostly affect like Taj Gibson. And like if he doesn't play, maybe you get a little bit more ceiling on Achua or Hartenstein, but their ceiling is already like they're already projected like 36, 37, 38, 39 minutes. They traded away Fournier. They dumped that. Never Google. Arcidiacono's gone as well. Malachi Flynn also shipped out. As far as Dallas, Luka, like we said, he's good to go with that nose. Kyrie's got the thumb. He's good to go. Maxi Kleber has a toes. He's questionable. They did kick out Grant Williams and Seth Curry are on the move. They're gone. Dante Exum's still out. Lively in his nose, unavailable. And Rashad Holmes was also traded. So some of their bigs are gone. Basically, I guess they still have Dwight Powell as far as their bigs. But Chop, I'll let you lead the way here. Tell me why you like Kyrie. I presume raw points, sure, Luka, but we do live the world of a salary cap. So you prefer Kyrie over Luka?
Yes. With that big discount we're getting, absolutely like Kyrie. It's Madison Square Garden, man. He loves this game. This is the Kyrie time of year, man. And like you said, Luka's a little bit banged up anyway. So I just think it's a big Kyrie game tonight as opposed to Luka. So, yeah, I'm on board with that. And that might be the only Maverick I like. I don't think I'm going to spend that kind of money on Luka. So I think it's Kyrie for me. Big game from him. The rest of them, I'm going to pass. And then the Knicks are obviously, I don't know if you want me to talk about the Knicks just yet, but just take a pick, man. There's a lot of great ones tonight. I mean, they're all like, DiVincenzo's been pretty damn incredible since in the last 5 games. Josh Hart's middle of the road, Achua's middle of the road, Hartenstein's middle, but they're all solid. They're not priced too high just yet. McBride scares me, has a little bit of chalk tonight, but he can still get there. That's if Brunson plays. If Brunson gets ruled out, then obviously
locks it.
Everybody. You play 4 Knicks and 4 Brooklyn guys, and just raking the gold. Yeah. But yeah, I would say Kyrie on one side, and the other side you can go with any one of 4 or 5 guys and feel pretty comfortable. But DiVincenzo still at these price tags, man, he's just still an awesome play at this price tag.
I think Brunson's an awesome play if he plays, because I don't think he's going to be terribly popular. He's super expensive, 9.7. I think there's some apprehension. People are kind of waiting to see like what happens if he doesn't play. But what if he does? Then you can certainly play him, and then DiVincenzo is still fine, it's weird to see a 7-9 tag on DiVincenzo. It's like, yeah, great play. 38% owned currently. Josh Hart, 24% owned. McBride currently 15%, and that would spike. That would be a massive number if we happen to get Brunson ruled out. Luka only coming in at 13% in this game. Kyrie even lower at 11% on DK, so both they're studs. By the way, this is the front half of the TNT doubleheader. I know Chopper talking about the bright lights there in New York. Even a little bit brighter on TNT with like Chuck and Shaq talking about it during halftime and such. Bobby, Dallas, New York looks really, really good. Again, it's one of those like the matchup. Well, the matchup's actually pretty good against Dallas. Dallas team you want to attack. How much New York is too much New York? Because it's Brooklyn, it's New York, and those 2 teams are really dominating this slate.
Yeah, I really like DiVincenzo. Matt says DiVincenzo. How he's been playing says DiVincenzo at 7.9. Miles McBride at 4,100. 6-man probably starting tonight, I would imagine. He would be my second favorite Nick. Achua at 6,400, I think, is someone you can consider. What I will say,
Brunson ruled out.
Oh, I was about to say. So if Brunson would have been, if Brunson had played, I might have kind of went underweight on DiVincenzo and just got more Brunson, because I think you made a good case that he was going to come in lesser owned. So yeah, DiVincenzo, McBride, Achua, those would be my 3 favorite Knicks. I think Chop's analysis on Kyrie and Doncic is probably the best analysis. Like, you're getting the savings on Kyrie. It's 8,700. It's Madison Square Garden. So I would prefer Kyrie to Luka on the Dallas side. And that's pretty much anticipating playing this game is probably going to have more Kyrie, and then getting to DiVincenzo, McBride, and Achua where I can in my lineups.
So our if then, 39 minutes for DiVincenzo. Yeah, he would be a 49 DK point projection, 46 FanDuel point projection for DiVincenzo. Man, he looks incredible. Miles McBride, a 31 point projection as a median projection. He looks like a smash and so easy to get in your lineup and make everything else work. Hart, 39, 38 DK FanDuel points a minute. He can get you one of those baby triple doubles. Well, great rebounder. Gonna log a ton of minutes. Hartenstein is a positive play. That's the guy, Hartenstein.
The ownership is the lowest on him. He'll be the lowest owned guy of the starting lineup probably in this. Yeah. And DiVincenzo's been taking about 22 field goal attempts a game. How many more is he gonna? Not that many more. A few more, but Jalen Brunson vacating that many shot attempts. Some of that's going to fall on Hartenstein as an offensive player, not Achua, who's an energy guy. Hartenstein's the back to the basket. Let's feed him and let him score. He's going to get some shot attempts. Dallas has no real interior defenders tonight with the trade and the injuries. I think Hartenstein's a big guy to like. At that ownership, I think he might be the biggest beneficiary tonight.
He might grab like 16 rebounds tonight. Wouldn't surprise me. Some putback stuff as well. Dallas, second worst team in the league as far as rebounding percentage. at 47.6%, and they're only second worst because the Wizards are historically awful at 45.3%. Yeah, I guess they'll be battling with Achua to grab some boards. Would you put a rule in only one of those two, or they both can get there, right? They're both kind of battling for boards and tip-ups and things like that, stocks. Bobby, could they both hit ceilings? I think they both, right? They both can get there. Precious and Hartenstein?
I think they both can get there. I do like what Chop said, just getting to more Hartenstein now than Achua with Brunson out, because I think he made a good point. Like DiVincenzo, how many more shots is he actually going to take?
He might take 30. He might take 30. I want to run like a court IQ, but like I'm sure like we're not going to get a sample size, right? There's just too many players out, and we just not seen a scenario like this. So sometimes you just got to use your brain on it.
Brunson's been taking 30 field goal attempts a game since Randall's been. So he's not gonna like DiVincenzo, even if he gets 10 more shots, that's still a whole lot left over. But Sean in chat says, would you rather have Edwards or DiVincenzo on FanDuel in a GPP? Man, now you're tough because you're talking about GPPs and the ownership on DiVincenzo is going to be through the roof. I think DiVincenzo is still a great play, but just in a GPP, I think I still want Edwards tonight.
What a wild question, by the way. That's a real question. And like,
man,
the answer is probably DiVincenzo, but
and
like,
it's really
unless you
close.
figure ownership stuff. Yeah.
I never thought that a couple weeks ago, but it's close.
Can we get away from Devo on DraftKings? I know that price at 7.9. It just seems like everyone's going to go towards this middling build, and we're getting low ownership on Luka. We're getting low ownership on Giannis, pretty much. Like,
Hart's not like a shoot first guy. I think McBride's he'll shoot, right? Yeah, 18% usage in the season. Like Brunson's a 30% usage guy. Randall's about a 30% usage guy. This guy Washington, is this the dude that played for the Pacers at some point? I'm looking at the if then stuff. I'm trying to see who's left for New York. Dwayne Washington, wasn't this guy in the Pacers last year? I'm making this up. Apparently he's allegedly going to get 18 minutes and project for about 19 fantasy points. Is he somebody that's worth a look? So I have not gotten that far.
I haven't gotten that far either.
Yeah. He is 3K stone minimum. Who knows how much? Let's see. They just signed him on the 3rd. Okay. Okay. Wait, who's Jacob Toppin? There's another Toppin? Jacob Toppin? Is that Obi's brother? Is this another? Is this real brothers or not real brothers? I don't know. You guys know who Jacob Toppin is? I don't know who that is either.
They're real brothers.
Oh, there you go. He's supposed to get some run. 12 minutes. All right. But and do we know about Sims or no? We don't know if he's in or out just yet. Doesn't matter a ton. But yeah, man, it's gonna. I'm playing McBride in every lineup. I don't care. Like he's gonna play so many minutes. I think if you don't play him, maybe you play this Washington guy, who I think was like all right for Indiana when he got some run, like fantasy wise. That's just off the dome. Anything else we should mention here? We got to move on. Anything else we should emphasize? Dallas is just the top two, right? It's one of the top two guys, and that's that. New York, I guess one of 6 guys. Their rotation is going to be crazy with the absence of Brunson, but I think we should move on. There's 3 more games. Got about 20 minutes to go until we hand it off to Crunch Time. So we're still well on pace. You got Squirrel Patrol coming in. You got Kyle Murray coming in, as well as Kevin Roth. By the way, current poll, best TV show from these 4. The Clubhouse leader is Breaking Bad, 44%. Second, Game of Thrones, 31%. The Office, 16%. And Stranger Things. I know Steve is bummed about this. Just 8% picked Stranger Things. Has that show officially ended, or is it still like waiting for its one like final season part 2? Do we know? Somebody's got to know this. I watched like the first few episodes and kind of fell off pretty quickly. Didn't hate it, but like Chop says, there's so many good shows out there. One more season. All right, so it's one more season. The kids are like 27 now. How old are the kids in Stranger Things? All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Minnesota.
Too old for Josh Giddey.
What? What about? Oh yeah, Chopper.
Old enough for him to remove them from his Rolodex.
Minnesota and Milwaukee, 226 is the total. It is tight, right? Milwaukee just a 1-point favorite here. We know Middleton is out. We don't know about Lillard. Lillard currently questionable for Milwaukee. We got Brookie Lopez. He's back. He had a child. Congratulations to him. His brother was traded away. His brother started last game, and then, oh, wait, this guy's terrible. This is the theme of the show. Brothers, by the way, twins, actually, right? Robin was traded away to somebody, and then he was bought out. There's a chance that Lillard does not play basketball, and that means Giannis has to do everything. Matchup not great, but he's been playing a pile of minutes because Doc Rivers is desperate to get a W that Jameis Winston will be proud of. We don't know if Monty Morris is going to be available for Minnesota. He's currently, I guess, he was traded yesterday, so maybe he's got a chance to play. Otherwise, nothing really new for Minnesota. McLaughlin's questionable. Who cares? Chop, I'll let you start this one off. The Edwards thing, by the way, I would just say, if you're playing Giannis, maybe run it back with Edwards. We had that question before, Edwards versus DiVincenzo. Maybe if you're playing Giannis in a lineup, I'd probably break the tie and a little bit of a correlation and play some Edwards and run him with them. But what do you got as far as Milwaukee and Minnesota, Chop?
Oh, Dean. Jericho Sims is officially ruled out. And so we've got some, you can just hammer like, what's the max number you can play in a lineup of one team? I think you could start the whole starting five of the Knicks and then even kick in the sixth man and feel pretty good about it, I think. But Milwaukee, Minnesota. All right, so this is a really good GPP game. Like I was saying, I would lean towards Anthony Edwards on some GPP teams. Yeah, why not? This game is going to be competitive, I would think. Two good teams going at it. Milwaukee offers a little bit of some defensive lapses at times, so that's good for a guy like Edwards who can score. I think he's a great GPP play. I think that, if you want to go Towns or Gobert, they could have decent games, but I'm on the Edwards over there. Clear me of all the Mike Conley now. You don't need that salary anymore. So I'm on that path. And then on the Milwaukee side, without Middleton, I think the big two are fine. And Kupo and Lillard, if he ends up playing, which I think he will, they'll be good. Look for Brook Lopez. Maybe he's a little upset they cut his brother. I don't know, but I think it's a good thing. I think there's too much brother nepotism things going on in Milwaukee. Maybe it led to a little laziness. Everybody's got their brother there and having a good time. Let's get some ball. The Lopez's were there. The Antetokounmpos were there. Come on, man. Let's get some ball going. Y'all are goofing off too much. So maybe this lights a fire under his ass a little, Dean. But so I don't mind. I think like a 2 versus 2 game stack. And then all that value out there, it's very playable now with the value we have. So this is some good GPP pieces here.
Jump in there, Bobby. What do you think of Minnesota, Milwaukee?
For me, it's like he would be my favorite play. I like Giannis. We have the value where I think it would be differentiated to get up to Giannis or Luka, and we have the value. So why not? And Dame missed last game. Like there could be if he were to miss tonight, then I would have some interest. Definitely in Giannis on the Milwaukee side, especially with Middleton out. Maybe some Bobby Portis. For Milwaukee, like there's not much like that I love. I hate playing Dame. Like you could, if he's in, like you can make a case to play him, but I never really play him. In terms of Minnesota, Ant, Towns, Gobert, like Ant would easily be my favorite. Probably a better basketball game than a fantasy game, but yeah, I don't know. If cheap guys from Minnesota, like if McDaniels sat, I mean, if McLaughlin were to sit, I don't think that really matters. It would be McDaniels or Reed. McDaniels been starting. I don't know. I haven't really thought about much of the value from Minnesota. It's mainly just Ant and some Towns. We have so much value on the slate, like. There's no one I really like. So, yeah, this is probably a game that I'm not getting too much outside of Anthony Edwards. A long way of saying that Anthony Edwards is my favorite play.
All right. By the way, Sims ruled out as well for New York. It's interesting. Underdog is saying, like they say, here's the players that are available for the Knicks: McBride, DiVincenzo, Hart, Achua, Hartenstein, Gibson, Toppin, that's Jacob Toppin, and Charlie Brown. 8 players. They didn't include Dwayne Washington. Is he not available? Because I think I don't know if they made a mistake or if he's not available because he was just curious if he's available, because I think it matters somewhat, just a tick, if Washington is available or not. But either 8 or 9 guys there for New York. By the way, I think I think producer Steve's like just closed the poll. Like people were very angry at the poll. Steve, did you do that on purpose or just happened to close at that time? Because I think Kirkwood was complaining. People in chat are complaining. You try to be a nice guy. You set up a poll for the people. Maybe it wasn't perfect, but the effort was there. Steve, it was appreciated. Was there a tilt close? He did close it on purpose. I thought that's what happened. He's like, screw you guys. No poll for you. That's the last time I set up a poll.
I don't know how Stranger Things made it into that poll. I don't get it.
Well, I think The Office was kind of, but you could make it. I don't want to poke holes. Let's not poke the bear. Steve's keeping us on the air. We do appreciate all the work he puts in. And I kind of put him on the spot. I'm like, yeah, you got to give us a poll right now. And he put it up there pretty quickly. But all right. Minnesota, it's basically, I'm not going to go beyond as far as the fringe players who were talking about there, Bobby. Like, I'm not messing with, Kyle Anderson or Jaden McDaniels, that kind of thing. I do have an if-then for Milwaukee I wanted to mention, right? Because Giannis now is a 63 DK point projection, which is a lot. 61 on FanDuel. Somebody asked about Jay Crowder in chat, and he's got to play a lot of minutes. He's projected for 23 or so. And Chop, I'll ask you this question, right? It was Crowder, right? Who's, we know who Jay Crowder is, 3-and-D guy. He's going to get some run because he kind of sort of has to. Or Jalen Wilson. And I feel like Jalen Wilson's got a little bit more upside. Maybe he's like a little less safe than Crowder, but I think he's got a little more upside. What's your thought?
Well, Wilson, it'd be Wilson. I don't think either one of them have massive upside, but Jay Crowder definitely has some capped upside, especially in this matchup. So it'd be Wilson. Save the money.
Luka officially in with his nose, as is Kyrie with his thumb, and Maxi Kleber good to go as well. He has that toe. All right. Anything else we want to say here, Bobby, as far as Minnesota and Milwaukee? Chop, did I get your take as far as Milwaukee? I apologize. I'm doing a couple things here.
Yeah.
We're bouncing around. Okay. I want to run some optimals and see what's coming up because I think our projections really like the Bulls, which is a little surprising. Like, I like the Bulls. The matchup certainly is fine here against Memphis. And oh God, we got to talk about Memphis and their injury report. That's a lot of fun. They're going to be a disaster basically going forward, I think. But the Bulls did nothing. They never do anything. They love being like the 9th best team in the Eastern Conference. Good for them. Absolute disaster. Another lost season for the Bulls. They're taking on Memphis 216.5 is the total. It's 6-point favorite here. Not a very appealing number. As far as Chicago, DeLon Terry expect to be available. Patrick Williams still out. Zach LaVine donezo for the season. Torrey Craig officially questionable. Caruso should be good to go. He is probable, as is Cody White. It was interesting they started Drummond last game. I assume that was because of how big Minnesota is. We're not projecting him to start again tonight, but just be aware that's something that did happen. The Derrick Rose revenge game may or may not happen. He's currently questionable. Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr., also questionable with his hip. Lamar Stevens was just traded to Memphis. We're not sure if he's going to be available or not. Who knows how much that matters. They also traded away big body David Roddy. Everybody else is hurt. Anybody you've ever heard of for the Grizzlies not playing basketball. Zebo is not playing basketball tonight for Memphis. It's a mess, Chop. Talk to me about Chicago and Memphis.
Oh, man. Chicago and Memphis. I mean, Memphis has so many guys out again that, some of these guys are like Triple J. I want the upside is the kind of guy I want in the lineup. Yeah, these other guys are priced up just enough to where this other value blows them out, and I don't need any of these guys. Like no other Memphis guys now, because most of them don't have the upside to get there in comparison to some of these other teams. So I'm on Jaren Jackson in tournaments. He's fine, especially on DraftKings, good price tag. Chicago is they were a lot more like appealing before the Brooklyn and New York came up, with all these empty minutes that they have to fill up. So sure, these guys are okay, and they'll put up some points tonight. And any of the top 3 guys, White, Vucevic, DeRozan, are fine. After that, I don't think I need to. I don't think there's enough upside in Caruso or any of these other guys to mess around with. So I don't know. I'm not the top 4 in the game. White, Vucevic, DeRozan, Jackson, all GPP worthy. I don't need any value plays or lower dollar guys, lower projected guys in this game because salary will not be a problem tonight.
So I ran some optimal stuff on DK. I capped players at 70%, no more than 70%. 2 players hit that: DSJ, Miles McBride, no surprise. DiVincenzo and Hart around 60%. Kind of surprising that the number 1 optimal I'm getting. Now mine's a little different than everybody else because I had a little bells and whistles and I mess with the variants and all that. But I'm getting 3 players from New York, only 1 player from Brooklyn, you know what that is, and 3 players from the Bulls. Which is kind of weird, but not crazy because the next one, 2 Bulls players, 4 Knicks. The next one, 4 Knicks, 2 Magic, no Bulls. 1 Bull, and the next one, 4 Knicks there. So yeah, 3 or 4 Knicks are probably hitting it almost every single time. But let's talk about Memphis here, Bobby. Memphis and Chicago. I don't know if I love Chicago as much as our projections do. They're fine, but I don't think I'm playing 3 players from Chicago on a team. Maybe 2. Certainly 1.
Yeah, it would be max 3 of the studs from Chicago, and I'm not really max 1 of the studs from Chicago, and I'm not really playing any value pieces like Caruso or Craig. Like I don't have any interest in those guys. I think I'd prefer Kobe White, then obviously Nikola Vucevic, and then DeMar DeRozan. Even though the other night I said I didn't want to play DeMar DeRozan as a GPP play, and he went for 50 or something. So yeah, for me those are my favorite Chicago guys. I do think like if everyone's playing all this value from the Nets and from the Knicks, it seems like it's going to be more Knicks now. Like the small forward, power forward guys, Vince Williams, Gigi Jackson, Santi Aldama. Like I don't want to deal with figuring out these rotations, but I do think one-offs of those guys in 150 make a little bit of sense to kind of get away from the current small, like Josh Hart at 6'3", for example, or I don't know who's value at the small forward position for Jalen Wilson, like we talked about as being an extreme value play for the Nets originally. Maybe he's 3-1, but I don't think he's going to be as chalky now with all the Knicks ownership. But
Chris Dunn maybe be a value play if you're looking for a value small forward.
Yeah, Precious Achiuwa is going to be popping for a lot of people at 6'4", and these guys on Memphis are all like 600 less. So maybe a guy like Santi, even though his minutes have kind of been cut back a little bit, but I'm not trying to figure out these Memphis rotations. It would be more for like 150 and stuff.
Surprised they didn't move Kennard. Like, what's the point? Somebody asked about Trey Jameson. Only if Triple J doesn't play. Otherwise, you cannot play him. Well, I shouldn't say cannot. You're an adult. You can make your own decisions, but he's projected for 15 minutes otherwise. But if Triple J is rolled out, he would be the biggest benefactor. He would almost definitely draw the start. Again, they traded Tillman away as well. We would jump him up to 29 minutes. He would play 29 minutes, and he's a pretty good rebounder, what we've seen so far. I'm not going to pretend to know much about Trey Jameson, what we've seen in a small sample. He's a pretty solid rebounder. 29 minutes, about 27 DK points as a median projection, so usable at 3.9. But you need Triple J to go away, and Vince Williams would always also look pretty good. He would have a 35-point DK median projection. Aldama also a slight positive DK value. Anything else here, or shall we move on and talk about the hammer that is Utah and Phoenix?
Then I was only going to point out to you, since the theme of today is brothers, Trey Jameson, famous brother.
Antoine?
Yep, Antoine Jameson, famous North Carolina Tar Heel.
Yeah, Antoine Jameson's got to be like 45-50, and his brothers. Okay, I feel like it's just a chop. I feel like this is a chop fact. I don't want to call you out of here, Chop, but I feel like this is a chop fact.
You do your own research, Dean.
Speaking of North Carolina, I saw Carolina Guy in chat mention that sports betting apparently passed today in North Carolina. So congrats to them. Hopefully it doesn't get caught up in bureaucracy and things of that sort for many, many years. Hopefully you can get it done quickly, because that happens as well. But lots of states. I don't know what the number is we're officially at. Over 30, I think, now that have ratified sports gambling, give or take. I don't know the official tote board on hand, but Utah's taking on Phoenix. They got rid of some of their big dudes. The backcourt is still pretty crowded. Kevin Knox is gone. They got Kevin Knox, but we're not sure if he's going to be available, right? They added Kevin Knox. Kevin is the one who knocks Agbaji is gone. Kelly O, as predicted by Bobby Gomes. Bobby Gomes and his sources. Kelly O is out the door going to Toronto. We have a couple players that are questionable for Phoenix. That is Devin Booker. He's got a hip. Bradley Beal's got an ankle. He's questionable. That's kind of a big deal. They traded away 4 fringe guys, Metu, KBD, that's Bates Diop, Yuto Watanabe, and Jordan Goodwin. They still have plenty of guys. They still have like 12 or 13 people. Like Bayo Maladon is a son. Who knew? I didn't know that. Nasir Little, Azubuike, Saban Lee is available. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to play, but allegedly he'll be wearing a jersey that says Suns on it. What's the plan here, Bobby? Because Booker and Beal matter if they're out. They're currently questionable, and we're probably not going to know. So is there a strategy here?
No real strategy. I would like to get them if we knew that they were in. Jazz can get beat by the 3-pointer. Durant and Booker obviously are guys that can shower 3-pointers on teams whenever. I just don't like. I don't find myself like skipping some of these other players in earlier games to lock in those guys. I feel like on the Utah side, Collins, Markkanen, I think those guys are like fine plays. You talked about Chris Dunn as like small forward value play. With Kelly O gone, I think what it does, it's going to free up minutes for Walker Kessler. So he might be my favorite play on Utah. I would say I like Walker Kessler a little bit. Yeah. And then in terms of Phoenix, like there's not a ton there that I really want to get to. We have enough value. Nurkic, Beal, if those guys, if Kevin Durant and Booker out, they will obviously get bumps, but I still think I like other players on the slate ahead of those guys.
People are talking about Hendricks and Chad. It's really hard to predict what they're going to do, but you think they would open up some minutes for him. We're giving 17 to him. You know, he's flat 3K. It's ambitious. Yurt 7 might get some run. He might get reintroduced to the rotation. It feels like a bit of a hedge here for the projection team. They're giving him 6 minutes. Utah tends to like to play their 10 guys. It's tough. Even though they got rid of some of the guys on the inside, the backcourt's still a bit messy. We're only giving Dunn 22 minutes. It feels like George has been closing more of late, so he's coming on, and he's still just 3.9. I don't know how much we need that, but large field stuff, I don't think it's insane to have him in your pool. Chop, what do you got as far as Utah Phoenix? I did want to mention we have an if-then if Booker is out, just Booker, and Durant would have a 60-point median projection, and Beal would have a 45, 46-point median projection, so both look really good. And, of course, if Beal doesn't play, Durant is not going to go backwards, I don't think. Like, Nurkic looks pretty good as well. Of course, they can all play. Who knows? And we're not going to know this most likely until at least well into the slate and possibly when it's the only game left.
Yeah. So Beal, I was kind of looking at Beal anyway at this salary for Phoenix. I don't really care if Booker's out or not. I think if Booker's out, it makes him even better. But I like Bradley Beal a little bit here and the rest of that stuff. But, you know, this game in general changed with all the value that opened up here earlier. So I was eyeballing Chris Dunn for Utah as a salary saver. Don't know if you need that now, but I don't think he's a bad play. Walker Kessler, the ownership has jumped up, but, you know, they lost some front court guys here. So some of these guys are going to play. I liked Taylor Hendricks a lot better earlier when I did the survey.
Don't need him now.
Because we didn't know about, you know, this other stuff. Now, I still think there's a path for him. If he can get hot from the three-point line, they let him shoot a little bit. And, you know, I don't know what Utah's MO is here, what they're trying to do with this, trading Kelly Olynyk away. I don't know, you know, if they're going to give some run to some of these younger guys and try that. But either one, or Kessler or a guy like, well, I do like Lauri Markkanen also. But Kessler, to me, if Nurkic gets in there and plays 30 minutes, you could see a path where, you know, they need Walker Kessler on defense there. And Nurkic is will allow the defensive stats against him to the other center. So I think that's a very interesting thing right there. So, I think there's guys here, but it's the last game on the slate. I'm not sure that, like, what are we waiting on here? Devin Booker? Like, is that going to move the needle?
And Beal. Booker and Beal.
I guess, like, if both are out, then yeah, okay. Then I could have played Durant, but what are you passing up on in the meantime? There's so many good players between 7K and 9K already now that are going to get unlimited amounts of run on the court. I don't know if I have to do that. So this game became very unattractive to me in the last hour. But with that being said, Kessler could get there. He has massive upside with blocks, and Bradley Beal was a guy in the mid-range I did like for those types of builds, but it's tough now.
We do have 29 minutes projected for Collins and 26 for Kessler. Like typically they split the 48 more or less. So they're projecting some crossover there with the absence of some of the bodies there in the middle. All the Pacers are in, by the way. Smith, Mathurin, Halliburton. What'd you have, Bobby? You got something?
No, I was thinking like if you came in under on DiVincenzo, maybe waiting on that news and getting to Beal isn't the worst idea. I think Chop kind of made me circle the wagon there a little bit.
Maybe Kyle Murray and Squirrel Patrol. They'll have some thoughts on this. They can help enlighten you guys. By the way, somebody in chat mentioned this. I'm gonna just kind of throw this on y'all. You know, we always have the Butthole Jenkins, Filt, and the Plums play. Somebody else said, kind of the theme of the show, what is the Breaking Bad play of the day? Which I assume means the player like you don't want, like who's going to break your lineup bad. I don't know. That's how I interpret it. So Chop, give me both. Give me the Filt and the Plums play, and then the guy that's going to break the slate, the guy you want to take in all the tournaments, and then give me the guy that's going to like implode your lineup. It's going to break bad. And, he's going to hang out in a Winnebago, and you don't want any of them tonight.
Okay. Let me refresh the ownerships real quick for the Breaking Bad play. And I would say that the Fill It in the Plums play, for me, I'm rocking with Hardenstein. I just, like, during the course of the show with the stuff that's happened, I think it's going to be Hardenstein. Who could sink the Breaking Bad play? Who could torpedo your whole lineup? Man, I don't know what that. I'm still going to go with. It could be a couple of different guys, but I'll say Jalen Wilson. He'll be popular. He's so cheap. He's so cheap that it's like tonight you might not need like 20 points from $3,100 guy, $3,000 guy. Most nights might be good. That may be something that sinks your lineup tonight with all the value. So I'll say Jalen Wilson. He's a rookie, right? Like, isn't he the guy from Kansas? He disappeared a lot in college. I could see him not living up to the bright lights tonight.
What do you got, Bobby?
So Phil in the Plums is going to be Banchero. I'm going to take a little risk on I'm going to say DiVincenzo is the guy that's going to hurt you. He's going to be the highest owned player on the slate, you'd imagine.
Well, no, the cheap guys. McBride will probably be the most expensive guy, most popular guy, just because he's so cheap.
Yeah, but of the spends that you would imagine DiVincenzo, I think I'm going to come under on DiVincenzo. I'm not fully fading him, but I'm going to come under on him.
Giannis officially in. Brooke Lopez officially in. Jay Crowder now questionable, downgraded. And Damian Lillard still questionable with his ankle. We got Kevin Roth, who's not questionable. He's probable. He's right here. What's up, Roth?
Not much. I'm still trying to figure out what the hell the Raptors are doing today. Like, I can't quite wrap my mind. I was hoping TJ would be on the show to explain that one. But I'm here.
Just the Raptors? The Bulls did nothing again for the 19th time in a row. Like, just many teams, it's just like,
yeah,
what are you
doing?
doing?
Raptors are in full rebuild and gave away a first. And I realized it wasn't a good first, but I still don't. I just can't wrap my mind around, like, what the thought process there is.
Did you see the Pistons?
I don't
know.
The
Pistons are certified. Kyle probably could speak to that. Your thoughts on your Pistons?
They, none worth sharing.
Well, fair enough. Do they meet expectations at least? The paltry expectations?
Yeah, I guess
the Pistons got better today, man.
Yeah, they did, but I mean, for the future, I guess
they reunited.
Bodies, but
yeah, they reunited Sasser and Grimes, man, college buddies.
At least they finally get rid of Killian Hayes, so that's a plus.
Well, like they have like Arch Diacono, like he was a former lottery pick. Not that Hayes is good, but it was just weird they just throw him away, right? Didn't they had to make for like some of these stiffs that nobody wants? So it was just very strange. I don't know what the contract stuff is, but whatever. The people don't care about such nonsense. They do want to hear the DFS plays. Myself, Chop, Bobby, we do thank you for watching the first portion. Do hit that like button, do subscribe, do turn on those notifications, and do not go anywhere because the FanDuel sponsor Crunch Time. It starts now. You got Squirrel Patrol, you got Kyle, you got Roth. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff. Welcome to it, ladies and gents. This is indeed Crunch Time. The show sponsored by FanDuel. You know the drill. We're taking you up to lock, We might take you a little through luck if you keep some good questions coming. And we have two of the sharpest minds in the biz helping you break down the slate. We got Kyle Murray, a.k.a. Kyler. Who was it that called you Kyler? I couldn't remember now. Was it Dean?
Yeah, it was Dean.
Damn it, Dean. We got Kyle in the house. What up, Kyle? How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's been a crazy day with all the trades going on and obviously some injury news as well. So it's been a hectic one, that's for sure. But yeah, it's been a fun one. I'm excited to break it down.
Is the trade deadline over? I haven't been following. It's over now, right?
Yeah, I think it was 3 Eastern.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that nothing was going to like pop out and screw us at the last second. You know, that's probably good. Give a little bit of time. Deadline ends, game start. That is wise. And then we got Squirrel in the house as well. He is the tournament master and certainly the live final tournament master. What up, Squirrel?
Yeah, not much. Yeah, it's a big day and happy NBA trade deadline day. Big time gets jumbled up. Definitely be doing some shows where I say guys are on the wrong team going forward, but yeah, it is what it is, and we'll get used to these guys in their new locations.
Yeah, it will. Some of these names we're definitely going to screw up and kind of get twisted in our minds, but we will figure it out, and we're going to help walk you through the slate. We're going to give you some winners here, and we kind of like to start with an overview. And Kyle, if you don't mind, do you want to be that guy who tells me, these are the spots we're targeting, and this is maybe the news we're still waiting on?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there is a lot to talk about, so I would definitely keep that in mind with all the trades that went down, and then obviously some injury news. But a couple of teams that stand out right off the bat are, both teams from New York, actually, with Brooklyn and the Knicks, both dealing with a lot of injuries and or trade situations that have left them extremely shorthanded. It's kind of I think 8 or 9 players. It's kind of up in the air actually with the availability of Dwayne Washington right now, but it looks like it's more so looking like he's not going to be available. So that would leave the Knicks with 8 players. And obviously, this is a team that is already willing to play their guys 40-plus minutes regularly. So the Knicks are shorthanded. The Nets are also shorthanded, and also a ton of value is opened up on the Nets. So those are the 2 spots where I think you'll see a lot of people look for value and in cash games. And then, there are some big injury pieces that we're waiting on. Guys like Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Halliburton, we got news that he's going to be in. So I do think for the most part, a lot of the injury news other than Booker and Beal have come through. But obviously with the trade situations and guys already being ruled out early on in the day, guys like Chris Middleton, who was already ruled out. I think Dame Lillard is still questionable, but those are the main spots I think we're either keeping an eye on or have kind of shifted the slate a little bit so far.
Okay, very good. Well, we generally like to start with a cash build, and for that, I believe we're going to kick things off with you. You want to walk me through a FanDuel cash slate, Kyle?
Yeah, let's do it. So like I said, both New York teams, both shorthanded and dealing with a lot of guys either out due to injury or trade. So a lot of the cash plays are going to come from that spot. On FanDuel, you have Dennis Smith, who's a point guard, and him and Miles McBride, I think, are going to be the de facto kind of cash game point guard value options. And I don't think you're going to see many cash lineups without those 2 in the build there. Dante DiVincenzo, another Knick, he's shooting guard option, 8,100. So the price is up there. But, I mean, this is a guy who had a 26% usage over the last couple of weeks, playing alongside Jalen Brunson. Brunson is also out now. DiVincenzo's probably going to be in there for 39, 40 minutes in this spot. So he's another cash game option. So I would say those 3 guys are really, staples so far at the guard position. The other kind of shooting guard options can sort of be up for a little bit of question, I suppose. You have a couple of options that do make a lot of sense, but right now in our optimal, we have Bradley Beal projecting in there. I don't think he'll be a cash game option just because you're going to have him, in the late game and questionable throughout the slate. So you're probably not going to see him, even though he's currently projecting to be in that spot. In that same price range, though, you have Cam Thomas at 7.6. I think you could make a case for him in that price range, but you can easily shift some things around there as well. For small forwards, a guy who Bobby was talking about before he went off, Paolo Banchero, he projects pretty well. And I think a lot of these mid-tier guys are going to be able to, be in cash lineups just because of the fact that you have so much value opening up to where you're going to be able to play, a handful of these mid-range guys, especially considering there's not a ton of, extreme spend-up options outside of Luka and Giannis. You can easily play in your lineup as well, but Luka obviously a little bit more difficult to play just because 2 of the key value pieces are point guard options with Smith and McBride there. And then going down the board a little bit more at power forward, you got Josh Hart at 6'9". Again, similar to DiVincenzo, the price is up a little bit, but he's going to play a ton, and he's a fairly productive player as well. So he's going to be one of the more popular players. And I think, he's definitely a cash game staple. And then at center, I think Precious Achiuwa is definitely in play as a center option. Again, much like DiVincenzo and Hart, his price is up a little bit due to how much he's been playing lately, but that shouldn't change here. And it's a good matchup against Dallas, who's shorthanded at, with their bigs as well. So I think it could be a spot where Precious, again, locked into 38 plus minutes here. And I think he definitely makes some sense in cash. I think you can argue maybe spending up a little bit more at the center position in cash if you wanted to, maneuver a little bit, kind of get to a guy like Hartenstein or even up to a guy like Wemby. But again, I don't think you necessarily need to do that. I think Precious makes a ton of sense there at 6'8", just because he's going to be on the floor so much.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Anything else you want to add here?
I think that's pretty much it. I think a lot of people, again, are going to build around the Knicks and the Nets tonight, and I think that makes a lot of sense. I think the one thing that you could maybe differ on is using a guy like Giannis as a spend-up or a guy like Wemby as a spend-up. But again, it is pretty difficult to fit in Luka as a spend-up option just because of how strong Smith and McBride are projecting.
Gotcha. Okay, very good. Well, let's kick it over to Squirrel here. We'll get some tournament thoughts. I guess if Knicks and Nets are the cash build, I will start there. How hard are you leaning into the chalk, or how are you getting different?
So yeah, it's not like regular chalk. Like it's not like, oh, this team has a good matchup, and so like they're the best point per dollar plays, right? Like this guy was projecting as a 4.8, point per dollar play, and this guy's 4.9 or 5.0. Like
Right.
These guys, like the Knicks only have like 8 guys. So Miles McBride's got to play all that he can. Like the Nets are really shorthanded. It's a really interesting dynamic on FanDuel at the point guard position because Dennis Smith Jr. and Miles McBride are both just point guard eligible. So it like knocks off almost any other player that's just point guard eligible. Mm-hmm. And most of them like don't really matter. Like Tyrese Halliburton is like still seeing limited minutes. Like I don't know if I want to play Steph Curry, but like he could break the slate. Some of the other guys are like Kyrie Irving and Donovan Mitchell. They're shooting guard eligible. Like Luke is the really interesting one. Yeah, because he's 12'8", so he's not really like popping as like a point per dollar play. But like you really would just want to not play any. Like Luke is going to have extremely low ownership because these other guys are going to see like 70% ownership. So
right. Rumor has it he can score 70 plus real life points. Like having 0% of that seems scary.
So Luke is like better on DraftKings, but still like he's in a really interesting like FanDuel tournament play. So like moving over to shooting guard where you can play some guys other than Dennis Smith Jr. and Miles McBride. You still have to play a bunch of Dante DiVincenzo though, because it's the same situation. Like the Jalen Brunson thing kind of knocks the Knicks into the category of just like silly teams like Memphis, wherever we've been seeing like where it's like pulling guys out of the stands. Like this guy Charlie Brown's gonna like play minutes, for the Knicks. He really seriously some guy named Charlie Brown's gonna be playing for them. So yeah, I was playing a ton of Dante DiVincenzo. I really like Kyrie Irving, like to run back with all of these Knicks, because you can't necessarily fit in like Luka. Playing some Colin Sexton, Utah got rid of some guys. I am like building in some Suns like Devin Booker and Bradley Beal, and as we like move to small forward, I'm giving like Kevin Durant a big boost up. But I think Kevin Durant's like really interesting, like single entry play especially on FanDuel, because like if Beal and Booker end up out, then Kevin Durant and Yusuf Nurkic like have a really good matchup against Utah. Without Beal and Booker, but I'm gonna play some Beal and Booker as well in my 150 set and just let the chips fall where they may. Like it's the last game of the night. I might end up like swapping down from Devin Booker to Bradley Beal or even to like Grayson Allen or something like that. And it's just gonna be that kind of night. Also, small forward Jay Crowder is a really good play on FanDuel. I wrote him up today as like the FanDuel guy that's like not a really great value on DraftKings. I guess now he's questionable. It's a really easy swap down from Jay Crowder to Pat Connaughton, who will probably see a lot more minutes on the Bucks if Crowder is out. The Bucks are also pretty missing a bunch of guys. They're pretty shorthanded because they're missing Chris Middleton anyway, and then they traded away Cameron Payne today. At small forward, one of the few guys from the early games that I do like playing, Paolo Banchero and Jonathan Kuminga. I guess I should like preface that statement or explain that statement saying that I am like waiting to see a little bit what happens like with the Phoenix guys, with the Memphis starting lineup, with the Brooklyn starting lineup as long as I can. So I'm deprioritizing like the early games a little bit, except for like Banchero and Kuminga. power forward, getting a bunch of Precious Achua and Josh Hart. Jalen Wilson makes his appearance at the power forward position on FanDuel. He is a guy that actually, like, my 100K win in basketball, like in late December, I actually had Jalen Wilson as like the big differentiator. So I'm probably going to go over the field on him, even, now that he's going to be popular. I like getting to a lot of Giannis. Again, like, I'm just like giving Giannis a boost up and playing a bunch of him because we have the value and we should have more value like coming through. And like some of the value we have maybe like estimated as like, we're kind of like, we don't know who's going to start. So we're maybe middling two guys. Like one guy's going to get the start. His projection is going to bump up. So like I'm bumping up like the top players like Luka and Giannis.
Mhm.
And then center position, giving a little bit of a boost to Yusuf Nurkic, just in case that Phoenix is missing some guys. Playing some Miles Turner, and then I'm playing some Jaren Jackson, but like also some Santi Aldama. So we got to see like how Memphis starting lineup breaks out.
Okay. Do you feel that it's too chalky to go with like those cheap Knicks and then paying up for Giannis because you've got the money? Like, is that kind of the cash build, or is that the build that you think a lot of folks will do?
I don't think like Giannis is going to be that popular because like right now we've got Damian Lillard projected as in. So even missing Chris Middleton, I don't think like Giannis is going to see like a ton of ownership. There's not some straightforward build because we have Luka as well. And Luka's not that popular, but then you have Kevin Durant who like might jump up because so there's actually a bunch of good players to like spend up on. So it's actually, I think it's a good night to like eat the chalk and like spread out at the payups. Like that's my general plan. And then maybe I concentrate and focus that, right? Like, so say Damian Lillard is out, but Devin Booker is in. So maybe I'm trying to get as much, who did I say? Maybe so maybe I'm trying to get as much Giannis as possible and getting off of the Kevin Durant or vice versa, right? Say the Suns guys are out or Suns guys are in and Lillard is out or whatever. I'm trying to get Giannis.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
I got you. Yes, I got you. Okay, very good. We did get another question that a couple of people asked at the same time, Squirrel, which was any interest in Drummond? Flying Armbar says, could we see Drummond go off? Our guy Butthole says, will they start Drummond again?
I don't know about that. I would thought that the starting Drummond was just because they're playing Minnesota. So they're playing Minnesota with Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert.
Two bigs.
Like two guys you would historically think of as being centers. So like Chicago has two guys that are centers, two traditional centers. So they started Vucevic and Drummond. I don't think they're going to necessarily go back to that starting lineup again. Makes
sense. Yeah. Okay. Very good. With that, we should note, if I haven't already done so, and I think I have, this show, by the way, is presented by FanDuel. They've got some of the best boosts and odds in the biz. Crunch Time presented by FanDuel. Bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. For new users in Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, Vermont, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 and up. Gaming problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Shout out to FanDuel for sponsoring the show, keeping it free for y'all. Let's kick it over to DK here. And Kyle, I'll bring you back in. What's different on DK? Walk me through a build over there.
First of all, I will say great job on the read. It's going to be funny when we get to a point where there's like 40 states that are.
Yeah. Can we just start saying the states that are not included? I feel like that would save us some time. That would be nice.
Yeah, that's funny.
All right. So as you look at DK here, is it kind of, the situations are the same, right?
Yeah.
The Knicks, the Nets, these are still the same spots, but is there pricing differences? How is it different?
I think there's a couple of guys that really stick out that are key differences. And the one from a cash perspective is Jalen Wilson. I know Squirrel mentioned him on FanDuel. He's super cheap on DraftKings, 3,100, makes a lot of things work there. And you have a little bit more positional flexibility as well with utility spots. So I think Wilson's a guy who I didn't really mention in the FanDuel cash build, but I think he's in play, or if not a staple for cash options in the DraftKings build. So that's the main difference there. That kind of opens up some more things. But guys that I mentioned, like Precious and Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, McBride, Smith, these are all, cash game staples that are from the Knicks and the Nets. I do think that, having 4 Knicks is definitely a smart move in cash day. I think you want at least 3. And I think you could potentially, find a little bit of extra salary and go Hartenstein over Precious. I think it's a $300 difference there on DraftKings, so makes it a little bit more easier to navigate that than on FanDuel. But I think both are really strong plays. Hartenstein definitely the better per minute producer, but Precious is going to play more minutes. I think it's been clear that they don't want to, trot Hartenstein out there for a ton of minutes. I think we have him for 34 minutes while we have Precious for 39. So I think both of those guys will project fairly similarly based on their salary, even though the minutes aren't going to be quite as equal. And then for some other options, I think maybe you can spend up for in that range. Once you kind of build around those guys and you're using guys like DiVincenzo and Hart and Precious, you don't have a ton of salary. Like you could, go to Giannis and cash, and then maybe, save a little bit more salary with that next spend up option. But right now in the optimal lineup, so it looks like we're going to go with two guys that are sort of mid-tier spend ups, guys like Paolo Banchero that I mentioned, DeMar DeRozan's in play in that range, Kyrie Irving. These are some guys. So in that, 7.5 to like, 9, lower 9 ranges, you can sort of fill in those last two spots there. A couple other names that I like in that range are Paolo Banchero, Kyrie Irving, DeMar DeRozan. Devin Booker's a little bit more expensive, and if he ends up being out, you can actually pivot very easily for $100 less to Kevin Durant, and obviously Durant would be one of the best plays in that range with Booker and maybe even Beal as well out. Anthony Edwards, I think, is also in play. I don't know if I would go there in cash, but he's in that price range. So if you wanted to play him, I think that's fine. But I don't know if he's necessarily a cash game option there. I think the guys that stand out in that mid-tier range as sort of those 1A, 1B spend-up options are Booker and Kevin Durant, Paolo Banchero, DeMar DeRozan, Kyrie Irving. And I think that's like the main core group that I would stick with. And then building with these Knicks and Nets players, guys like DiVincenzo, Hartenstein, Precious, Josh Hart. Those are going to be the spend-up Nick options that you have. And then Miles McBride, Dennis Smith, those are going to be the value cash options. So a lot of it's going to be pretty similar to what we were talking about on FanDuel.
Gotcha. Do you think that as you're building for cash, the right move is to play those Suns and, plug in Booker? Because if he's out, you can make that easy pivot to Durant, and then you've got maybe the best play in the whole slate. Like, is that how you would build it?
So right now, I don't think you necessarily need to do that in hopes that Kevin Durant ends up being the best play on the slate. I do think right now that you can just play Booker. I think he's a strong enough cash play to just play him, and then you have that natural pivot. Like right now, I have Booker in my cash lineup, so I'm able to just make that quick pivot. But I don't think you necessarily need to go out of your way in order to just set yourself up for that, because there are plenty of other paths to building. And I do think one of those paths is to just use two guys in that mid-8 range, guys like Banchero and Kyrie Irving, or a couple of guys in that range. But it's definitely something that I think is viable whether or not Booker and Beal are out, because I think Booker's a strong enough play on his own as well.
Yeah, I mean, then you're getting the upside without any real risk. If you like Booker alone, then it feels a little bit like a win-win. So that's interesting. Okay, Squirrel, I want to bring you back in here. We have 19 minutes until lock, which is a ton. Hopefully you have something different to tell me. You might not. I don't know. As you go through DK, what are your thoughts?
So, yeah, one thing, the guys we talked about at point guard on FanDuel, Miles McBride and Dennis Smith Jr. are even cheaper on DraftKings. Even cheaper, I think, given the lower salary cap on DraftKings. The good news is that with the multi-position eligibility and with this flex spot, you are able to get a little bit more guys who would maybe be point guards. You can get a lot more Luka.
You mean Luka. Luka right now. Yeah.
on DraftKings. So other point guards that I'm looking at, some Kobe White. I'm playing some Keontae George. I think he's a pretty interesting play at 3,900 on DraftKings. He's been playing more lately. He's been playing better lately. Utah just traded away a bunch of guys. They traded away Agbaji, Kelly Olynyk, and Fontecchio. So I think one of the prime beneficiaries I think is going to be Keontae George. So I'm playing some Keontae George at point guard on DraftKings. Let's see who else. Oh, Lester Quinones is an interesting play. He's only 3,600. Klay Thompson's out. I actually talked about him yesterday. It's an interesting matchup. He's got over 18 DraftKings points his last 4 games, and most people haven't heard of him. There's a lot of value tonight, but and the other value is safer. But for a 150 build or even a 20 max, I think having a Lester Quinones lineup or two is kind of an interesting pivot. Shooting guard, again, both McBride and Dennis Smith Jr. are eligible shooting guard. Again, I'm playing a lot of Dante DiVincenzo. It's just hard to get away from the Knicks tonight. So playing some Brandon Podziemski in the first game with Klay Thompson out. I am building in some Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. I've got a handful of Mikal Bridges and Cam Thomas lineups. I don't love spending up for Brooklyn guys tonight because the guys that they traded away were playing minutes but weren't huge pieces of the offense. Mm-hmm. So guys like Dennis Smith Jr. Probably going to be a starting point guard, or he's at least going to be playing a lot of minutes. Like Jalen Wilson at 3,100, he's going to get a lot more minutes than he was. He doesn't necessarily need to be a huge part of the offense to pay off 3,100 at small forward. Gotcha. But so I like using those guys, but I don't love using the expensive Brooklyn guys. Playing some Vince Williams, we got to see what happens with Memphis. Jaren Jackson is questionable, so they could get kind of a silly lineup again, some Trey Jemison but Vince Williams is probably their primary offensive piece if Jaren Jackson is to sit. Getting a lot less Jay Crowder on DraftKings than FanDuel for what it's worth, and he's questionable anyway. So, and I don't know if there's an easy pivot from him on DraftKings, so I'm just not playing a ton of them. Power forward playing a good amount of Paolo Banchero, but really trying to get over the field on Giannis, and then also playing Precious Achiuwa and Josh Hart. You just can't get away from the Knicks tonight. Center position, again, a lot of Precious, a lot of Giannis. Playing a good amount of Nikola Vucevic against Memphis. They are that Memphis is down bodies, and it seems like a Vooch kind of game where Memphis might not have anybody over 6'8", so good for Vooch. This is not the matchup where Chicago will necessarily have to start two centers. Playing some Isaiah Hartenstein, getting more Wendell Carter Jr. on DraftKings and on FanDuel in the first game, and then building in some Yusuf Nurkic lineups just in case the Suns are missing everybody.
Okay. Very good. Guys, we still have 15 minutes or so until we hit the lock. And that means we can open up for questions, unless, Kyle, you have anything that you want to add before we jump into those QQs, which, by the way, start in the Discord, and then we'll roll over into the YouTube chat.
Yeah, I guess there's one thing that I guess I would like to touch on real quick. We got a question about Dwayne Washington from the Knicks, just because of the projection team. We've been having some trouble kind of pinning down. Actually, there's been conflicting reports on his availability. He's not listed on the injury report as out, and he's still on the active roster. So that typically would mean that he is going to play or at least be available. But beat reporters are saying that there's only going to be 8 players available for the Knicks today. So there's some question marks around Dwayne Washington. We see some sites around the industry have him projected in, some have him out. So I will say that there's definitely some risk there for him, but we're still looking for confirmation on Twitter and whatnot. But I guess I would say that he's definitely not a safe option, but there is a world where, it's just a bad job by beat writers out there. And he's actually going to play, he could play anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes here. So it's definitely something to monitor, but I would say there's definitely a lot of question marks around the situation.
Okay, not a super high reward play either way, but maybe a tournament dart in case it's a blowout or something like that. Yeah. Okay, very good. I got plenty of questions coming in. So as I mentioned, I like starting in the RotoGrinders Discord. That is where the cool kids hang out. And we'll go with FanDuel GPP. Squirrel, which game should I be targeting multiple players from? Obviously the Knicks, maybe the Nets, but you mentioned you just kind of like going cheap there. What are you thinking?
Yeah, so I think the Knicks-Dallas game is one that I'm definitely interested in targeting a lot. Chicago-Memphis has the lowest total, but Memphis is so banged up. I think it's an interesting play to maybe play one of the Chicago spend-ups and then see what happens. You can run it back Vince Williams or Jaren Jackson, or you might end up getting some cheaper guys if Jaren Jackson is out. Actually, kind of if you're going to pick one game that's kind of sneaky, I think the Utah Phoenix game, building in multiple pieces, it gives you some flexibility to swap around if Booker or Beal is out. It's the second highest total game of the night. The highest total is Golden State and the Pacers, and that's kind of priced for the total. Mm-hmm. Whereas the Utah Phoenix game, especially if you start getting major pieces out, suddenly that's going to be some value plays. And the Utah starting lineup is a little bit unknown. There's a small forward that I think people were talking up earlier in the day, but Taylor Hendricks. But so he might be an interesting value piece, but maybe not. If he's starting, then he's really interesting. He's not starting. So anyway, I think Utah Phoenix is a good game.
Okay. Very, very good. Very interesting. All right. By the way, you mentioned if Triple J is out. Triple J is on track to play according to his coach. So it looks like he will likely be in there. A few more QQs here. FanDuel cash question. Kyle, you want Podziemski and DeRozan or Cam Thomas and Josh Hart?
That's a tough one. I think I'll go with the first one with Klay Thompson being out. I think Podziemski is going to likely start and definitely be cash consideration tonight.
Okay, great. Squirrel, I'm going to tie these two questions together. One of them from Chinatown says, could you review Phoenix again? I missed why in terms of potential injury, there's value opening up. Second one is it worth the wait for some Phoenix news and having 2 to 3 slots to swap out players? The news is that Booker, I think, is questionable, right?
Booker and Beal, I think, are questionable.
Booker and Beal, okay.
Yeah.
Is it worth having 2 to 3 slots to swap out players and or making sure you have Booker in your lineup so you can make that easy pivot to a KD?
Yeah, I think it is interesting. So I think it's worth reserving a lineup spot for it. It's the second highest total of the night. And I mean, we're talking about Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, potentially very low ownership. So yeah, I really like that swap. I think if you have there's a Booker in your utility, and I think Durant is $100 cheaper. Yeah, I think that's a really interesting pivot. And I don't think people are going to necessarily go there. As of right now, everybody's projected in. Both Durant and Booker will look better if Beal is out. If Booker and Beal are out, then Devin Durant suddenly jumps off the page. So I think it is sometimes it's not worth really thinking ahead or planning for that situation. The worst case scenario here is I think you're just playing Devin Booker or or Kevin Durant. I mean and if everybody's in, that's still fine. That's still a totally reasonable play with a really good matchup against you.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. FanDuel GPP scroll your favorite 2 or 3 cheap chalk plays that will be in your lineup. So cheap chalk that you like that you're not fading on FanDuel.
Yeah. The top 3 have to be Miles McBride, Dante DiVincenzo, and Dennis Smith Jr.
Okay. Easy enough. Very straightforward. Kyle, bring it back in here on FanDuel. You want Ant or Kyrie?
I'll take Kyrie slightly there.
All right. What else do we have? FanDuel single entry. Kyle, this is coming for you. Bridges versus Thomas in FanDuel single entry.
I will go with I'll go with McCall Bridges.
Okay. And then is Podziemski a crazy play against Indiana on FanDuel? I thought the answer was no. Yeah. We don't think he's crazy, right? We like that.
No, not at all. No.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. or M. Rios says, is Kevin Roth's best friend Eric Gordon? He's my best friend. Yeah, worded right. What are your thoughts of him instead of Nets chalk? He didn't type that. I added it. Any interest in my best friend Eric Gordon? Our kids go to school together. We're best friends. We play basketball together. No big deal.
I didn't know that. But I don't know. This is interesting because if Beal and Booker are out, Gordon is interesting. But Grayson Allen might be interesting too. I don't know. I'm not building in some Eric Gordon. I still think I prefer the Nets chalk, basically.
Okay. I should note our kids do go to school together. I do see him all the time, but outside of just giving him a fist bump, I've never played basketball with him or talked to him. So in my head, we're best friends, but we haven't gotten there quite yet. On FanDuel, Watford as a pivot off of Wilson. This certainly seems like a GPP question. Squirrel, you're nodding in agreement.
Yeah, no, I do have some trends in Watford, and that's one of the things where I kind of want to see coach press conference or starting line or something, right? See what's going on. But I think you can play they're so shorthanded. It's not a situation where you can only play Watford or Jalen Wilson. I think you can play both of them together if you want to play one or the other. I don't think Watford's going to be unowned, but he is an interesting pivot. Because it's going to be lower.
Okay. Kyle, DK cash question, Boncaro or fine $700 for Wemby?
I would go Paolo there.
Oh, okay. All right. DK GPP. I've already got McBride and Hartenstein. So I'm on my last piece, Squirrel, Hart or Pods?
I think I'd go Josh Hart.
Okay. FanDuel single entry. We'll go right back to you here, Squirrel. Cam Thomas, Hart, and Kuminga. Or Kyrie, KD, and Taj Gibson if the Phoenix guys are out.
Wait, sorry. So, what was the first one again?
Cam Thomas, Hart, and Kuminga, or KD, Kyrie, and Taj.
Yeah, maybe try the second one.
Ooh.
I'm not playing any Todd Gibson, but if you're going to, like, tonight's the night. I'm not sure where Todd Gibson is positionally eligible. I love the idea of playing like Kyrie and Durant, and then just fitting in kind of anybody.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Eric wants to know if I could take Eric Gordon one-on-one. I would have said yes, and then I walked past him in the hallway, and for a guard, he's freaking enormous. He is huge. So I don't think I could ever drive past him, and I think he would bulldoze me to the basket with ease. He's jacked. Did you know that he's freaking huge?
He looks like sturdy.
He looks sturdy. That's it. He looks freaking sturdy. All right, what else do we got here? Real questions. FanDuel GPP single entry. Any interest in Suggs as the last piece, or would you rather play Lester Q?
Yeah, I mean, I like Lester Q as like a 150 guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love Suggs. I'd rather keep the spot open, I think.
Okay. All right. Kyle, let's rank the Chicago studs. Can you rank the Chicago studs for us from Mixtape Dave?
Yeah, I think I would go DeRozan, Vooch, and then Kobe White.
Perfect. What else do we have here? Booker or Irving? And Kyle, I'll give that one to you. Booker or Kyrie?
I like Booker. I think, you have the added flexibility of being able to swap if needed to Durant just because they're so closely priced. And I like Booker on his own in general. So I'll go with Booker.
Okay, very good. Carolina guy says Squirrel one lineup in a FanDuel GPP large field. He's trying to take it all down here. How many studs and who are they?
How many studs? What?
How many studs and who are they?
Oh, for one lineup for FanDuel, I would go with Giannis as like the number one guy, like the number one spend up. Number two spend up might be Dante DiVincenzo, which sounds crazy. He's 8,100, but just
insane.
Yeah, right. And then I even think you can fit Kyrie Irving on that lineup, and then you've got like some Dallas Knicks kind of mini game stack with Giannis, and there's enough value to like fill out that lineup.
Very nice. Okay, great work through there. FanDuel single entry, Kuminga versus Mikal Bridges. Squirrel, Kuminga versus Mikal Bridges.
I like Kuminga. I don't love like spending up for the Brooklyn guys tonight.
Okay, we got about 4 minutes until lock. We're going to lightning around these. I'm going to try to get to the YouTube, but these Discord questions keep coming in, which is, by the way, why you should hang out in the Discord. FanDuel cash, Kyle, Kuminga or Clax straight up?
Kuminga.
Beasley and Markkanen or Curry and Uncle Mo?
I'd go with the first one because I don't know who Uncle Mo is.
Yeah, I don't know. If I'm playing 3 Knicks on FanDuel, Kyle, do I have to run back somebody on Dallas?
I don't think you have to. Again, a lot of it's pretty difficult because of the point guard situation with Luka, but you do have the ability to play Kyrie at shooting guard. So I think you definitely can, but you don't necessarily need to.
Great. Okay. Everybody seems to love pods tonight. Squirrel, is Draymond a good pivot for like, what is he, $100 cheaper? I think $100 more.
I don't think Podziemski's is going to see that much ownership. You like need to pivot. So like I would not. I'm not playing Draymond tonight. So I'm playing 2% Draymond on DraftKings. So
okay, great.
I don't see none, but
okay, very little. 4 minutes until lock. Let's get into the YouTube QQs. Make sure you hit us with a little thumbs up. By the way, it's free content. We're doing the best we can for you here. FanDuel GPP pods and Bridges, Squirrel, or Quinones and Durant.
I'd go with Quinones and Durant. I don't want to talk too many people on the Quinones. Like he's, like I didn't know who this guy was last week, but I do love the idea of playing Kevin Durant. So, and like I said, I don't love like spending up the Nets guys. So I'm going to say Quinones Durant. Like, don't get angry at me if like Quinones doesn't play.
That is a fair disclaimer. All right, Black Main says your favorite cheap guy on FanDuel. Your favorite cheapie on FanDuel, Squirrel.
Let me see. So are we going like absolute min priced or like I'd say like my favorite like cheapie is Jalen Wilson at 3,800.
What position is he?
Was it?
What position is he?
He is power forward.
Okay, great. Because the next question was favorite cheap FanDuel guy not at point guard. So
yeah,
2 birds, 1 stone. Very good. What else do we got? FanDuel cash, Kyle, Precious or Collins?
Precious.
3-point contest, who wins, Roth or Gordon? I can't shoot. I I play like a power forward, so he's got me there. FanDuel center not named Nurk. Kyle?
So any center not named Nurk or
Any center not named Nurk.
I mean, Precious and Hartenstein are both pretty strong plays. Hart is a little bit more expensive comparatively when you look at FanDuel versus DraftKings, but yeah, I think Precious is the better point per dollar option, but you can also play him at power forward, so maybe he already has Precious in the lineup. But other guys in that range, you have Claxton there, you have Vooch as well, but I think spending down a little bit more to Precious is probably the way I would go.
Great. DK, GPP, Squirrel, Boncaro, or Ant? We got less than 2 minutes to get those lineups in.
I'd go Boncaro.
Lillard did just get ruled out, by the way.
Okay. So are you pivoting more into Giannis already, or are you still thinking you want to save some space because maybe we get the Suns news breaking our way also?
I'd go with some Giannis. There's like a bird in the hand or something? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Giannis without Lillard. I don't know.
Just excellent use of bird in the hand there. That is a perfect time to pull that one out. Yes. What else? DKGB, is Miles Turner viable, Squirrel?
I'm not playing a ton of them. Playing a little bit, about 10%. And I don't think I would go there in like single entry or anything like that.
Okay. Naja Boy says, DKGB, is it a good idea to lock in Boncaro at 7 or wait for more news? Did we just get the news that we were maybe waiting for?
I think if you're on the fence, I would maybe take. It kind of depends what site you're on too, because I would prioritize Giannis, and they're both power forwards on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I don't think Bancaro's. Yeah, so you can play Giannis at center. That's what it is.
Yeah. Oh, okay. A few more questions here. FanDuel cash question, Kyle. Bridges, Clax, or Cam Thomas and Cat?
I'll go with the second group.
DK Cash, Gobert and Vince Will, or DeMar and Wendell?
What was that?
DK Cash, Gobert and Vince Will, or DeMar and Wendell?
I'll take the DeMar and Wendell side.
Okay, FanDuel GPP making you work for this one, Squirrel. Favorite play, 5'3" or lower at shooting guard or small forward. FanDuel GPP. Favorite play, 5'3" or lower, shooting guard or small forward.
5,300.
Yep.
We gotta go down. Chris Dunn.
Okay, great. DK Cash question: Wemby, Boncaro, Kyle, or Durant, Kobe White?
I'll go with the Durant side, and I like Durant a lot, regardless of the news. But he'll only get better if there's some guys out there.
I think Bancaro's locked.
And with that, we have hit the lock. OS says, this is an interesting question. Now that Dame is out, obviously our first shift is, okay, we want more Giannis, but what's the next level shift? Like, who's the guard that could fill in that role? Is it AJ Green?
They've been playing a bunch of guys that don't do anything. They just run up and down the court. So I seriously, I would just go maybe Malik Beasley. Malik Beasley probably gets a bump without Chris Middleton and with no Damian Lillard. But they will play some guys like Andre Jackson, AJ Green, who don't do a ton. I'd maybe play like AJ Green over Andre Jackson. I would try to avoid either of them. I would just try to prioritize Malik Beasley and Giannis.
Okay.
I just think it could also be pretty good for Bobby Portis as well. He gets a big usage bump with both Lillard and Middleton off the floor. Maybe going against Minnesota, they see some more time there with just trying to size up with them some more.
Yeah, I mean they're going to need to score. They've lost 2 of their 3 main scorers at this point, and Giannis is not exactly a creator. This should be interesting. DSJ not starting. Wilson is starting, and DSJ is not starting. Squirrel, what do you make of that news? Either of those pieces of news?
So I really like Jalen. I mean, it's the expected. I like Jalen Wilson a lot more. And there was a Jalen Wilson versus Trendon Watford question. The answer is now Jalen Wilson. I don't necessarily think you need to get away from Dennis Smith Jr. though. He's still a pretty good play. They're going to have to run him out for a good amount. So he might still play 30+ minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Hey, with that, we have surpassed the lock. We've answered the questions. Hit us with a thumbs up on your way out. These guys did a fantastic job of answering your questions and breaking down the slate. We are going to bounce on out of here. So for Squirrel, for Kyle, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.